Late at night we gather round, Jim and Eric breaking ground. Horror tales that make hearts pound, with a special guest renowned. Phrique joins in the eerie show, stories where the dark winds blow.
And welcome to Horror Movies and Shit. I'm your host, Jim. And with me today is Eric.
Hello.
How are you, Eric?
I'm doing really good. Happy to be here. Super excited.
Eric, why don't you pop your own podcast?
Yeah, so I am the host of the Eric Frightshow. There are currently 2 episodes out, first season, and the new episode 3 comes out next Friday.
Nice.
So
you do all your own editing and producing and all that stuff?
Yeah, I don't have any fun people in my life to do that for me, so
I don't either.
Yeah, all my own editing, and I've learned along the way, like I think you mentioned before we started, like the mic and stuff. And I'm a Leo, just so everyone knows. I also like to so if you notice like the mic flag and stuff, I like to boost my ego a little bit.
Yeah.
So
That's all good. Hey Lori, how are you? Lori's watching us on the Facebook Live.
Hi,
so
Lori.
anyway, with us today is JJ. Hi JJ.
Hey guys.
How are you?
Hello.
I'm good. JJ Phrique, whatever you guys want to go by. JJ's easier. And as Jim has pointed out, it is Phrique, 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 not freaky, not pre-K, not prick, not frick, just Phrique.
Okay,
we'll see.
Before we get started, I have something I have to do.
Okay.
So give me 1 second. Phrique, tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay. Well, it's my first book. It is my debut, and I said if I'm gonna write a book, I better come out swinging. So I said I want to do a giallo, which is Jim's favorite.
My favorite.
So I said, like, okay, we've seen the modern slasher, the giallos where it's just, somebody with gloves and a straight razor and a mask, and you never know who they are. So it's like, well, wouldn't it be fun if there was a drag queen that's already kind of wearing like a mask? So then technically it could be anyone. So if there's a competition that has 12, because I had to do 12 drag queens that get killed. I mean, yeah, I overshot a little bit, but that's okay.
Hey, that's okay.
I mean, it just kind of adds where it could have been any one of them. And honestly, if you're seeing somebody like in drag, you're already like, who is that? But then to know that it's Killer 2, I said, let's go all for it. So I made this kind of universe that has these drag queens that are competing to be number 1 in a Halloween pageant. So it's basically a 2-week span before the pageant starts, and kind of the way that somebody decides to get rid of the competition to make sure that they win.
Yeah.
And
so our buddy Dom is watching, and he did something for the podcast today, and I have to call him out for this. And then we'll get back to your book. So I apologize for changing subjects, but I have to play this.
Go for it.
You are now listening to the Horror Movies and Shit podcast. I'm going to need you to turn it all the way up. Call me Scary Terry, pop your cherry in a cemetery. I'm not a player getting heads hereditary. If you're sleeping on this podcast, Freddy's coming for that ass 1, 2. Make a move. You already know who. When I'm tipsy, I need Ripley because these aliens trying to get me, but I know what's going to save me. It's the podcast, it's the reviews, and if you don't have a clue, middle finger, fuck you. Better watch out. They're pedantic as fuck, but what I need you to do is turn it all the way up.
The dude is so much. He's so much fun. I love him, and we'll talk about him at another time because he'll be on the end of this month to talk about his new movie. So I'm excited about that. So Phrique, back to your. I called you Phrique. That's okay though.
It's okay.
Kale. So we have Kale, Alistair, Veronica, Lori, and Dom all watching right now. And there was one other person. I'm not. Rebecca Leanne was the one person I missed. So I apologize if I missed anybody. But hello everybody. So let's get back to your book. Veronica's already chomping at the bit to say justice for Mayonnaise.
So, like, I really created actually probably about 14 characters, and this is again brand new for me.
Yeah.
So to know that I'm creating these characters to the point where I know exactly what they look like. I know their personalities. I drew all of them. I made a Substack where I drew everybody. So if anyone, while they're reading, wants to go look, I drew exactly what they'd be wearing to the pageant if they made it. And so just, and then I actually started drawing their faces and all that. So like, this is while I'm learning to write a book, I'm also like, let's also figure out how to draw, you know, you can use Procreate. So yeah, so there's characters in there that I love. Like Ho Behave is probably my favorite, and probably she's probably like, yeah, she's kind of like the fan favorite. And I can't tell if it's because, you know, she has a lot of background, or because she has like a BDSM club and it's kind of the more spicier chapters for the little nasties out there. But the amount of research I had to do on sex toys, how to make a sex room, all that is ridiculous. But
your FBI agent must love you right now.
My FBI agent, all this last 2 weeks, been nothing but poison research, and it's so like the library books I've been getting, nothing but like I know so much about poisons now that if anybody around me drops dead, I'm in trouble. Like I'm in trouble. But
Zach,
so yeah, we made it.
Zach says that Ho was also their favorite, and that you caused your FBI agent to retire.
I mean, and it's funny because like when I was doing these, I'm as we'll get out early. I have OCPD. I am very categorized. Everything I do is already has a place. And so when it comes to my deaths, I said, I want everything to be plausible. So I researched just about every death that I had to the point where I had to find out, like, I know that you have to have at least 5 stories before for your spine to basically snap in half if it lands on something. So like, I know the miles per hour. I had to know that. I had to know exactly the voltage that it takes to electrocute somebody to the point where like their heart stops or they just cook. Like I had to know all
so
that.
Then how did you come up with the silicone butt implants then?
So that one, okay, so I had to look up, there's so many, I had to look up a lot of like back alley, like silicone clinics that really did this. Like everything that I put inside, the doctors put inside like back alley butt implants where they'll put Fix-A-Flat and liquid nails and one other thing, I forgot what it was, but it's literally, they mix it up and they take little syringes and they go back and forth and they'll inject that in your ass and then they'll make you sit there for like an hour and it kind of gets stuck in there but it's always kind of gelatinous. So I had to add that to the story.
If I remember correctly, didn't you use some concrete in there too?
Yep, liquid concrete. Yeah.
Huh.
So I mean, and that's really what they put in. And then I think I looked up, there was an episode of Pose where they were talking about that too, where I used that, where it was just this little lady you go to her apartment and she'll basically fill you up and you sit there for like an hour and then she sends you on your way and they'll like super glue the hole. So then, yeah.
You would think after Priscilla Presley's debacle that, well, you guys might not even know who she is, but like she went to Mexico and got automotive grade silicone injected into her face and they can't take it out because it's fused. It's like JB Weld.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what happens, and that's why I think that's what made the story so much the death that involved that so much better, because like, okay, so you guys are getting a little exclusive, but originally I planned on that person dying. I won't give away who it was, but they were supposed to get stuck underneath the car where the tire is slowly creeping down. Like, so they lived up in the California hills. So the car was in neutral, whatever. And the tire was slowly creeping down and it like caught her ankle and it was just slowly drifting. And basically I wanted her insides to come out like toothpaste. Yeah. And I found out because of shocks that that's not going to happen, but So again, research is great, but also ruined like a really good death because I wanted all of her like just goo all coming out of her mouth
So
and
instead, you
ears
had
and,
her. If I'm thinking of the right scene, you had her crushed by a fence instead.
uh the bitch ass gate. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
She was cussing at that gate for
Yep.
multiple, and I think she actually said, because I love being on the nose, that motherfucking gate will be the death of me
Yep.
someday.
At one point, I
And
believe you're right.
yeah.
A little
So
foreshadowing.
Eric, are you a
Little bit.
big fan of gore?
As I get older, I think because I was kind of more into just slashers and not a lot of gore.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got older and I stopped being so ignorant and stuck up towards everything else that I didn't know. I
Yeah.
was that typical, like, if it's something I didn't grow up and know anything about, it wasn't for me. And now I've just like opened my eyes to like everything that I'm exposed to. And I always find, if it's not for me, I don't bash it. I try to find some appreciation
Right.
for it. So I Terrifier really opened me up to gore though.
Yeah, I love the character of Art the Clown. I'm not a fan of the Terrifier movies, but author Emmy Smith, JJ, is saying that the gore the merrier.
No, that works. That I like that.
And if you've read any of Emmy Smith's stuff, you know that that's true for him.
Yep. And his the crocodile story in the Splatter Cheddar anthology is probably, I'm not supposed to say favorites, but I would say it's probably my favorite. And it was,
I haven't gotten to that one yet.
you really, I mean, like I was honestly very, very impressed. But
Nice.
unfortunately, I have to call him Mess Smith because he called me Freaky and Phrique a couple times, so his name is Mess Smith for right now. So
Okay.
sorry, buddy. But a couple more times we'll even. But what age did you say, Eric, that it took you like to kind of figure out to like change your opinion and like your thoughts on horror movies?
I think in my like not in the last few years.
Okay.
Just
So-
because I was out of it for a while and I like my whole thing is that I'm rediscovering my whole passion for horror and everything all over again because for most of my 20s and everything I just didn't really accept it anymore. I tried to be like I didn't have a community of people that were like me. So I gravitated away from it because I wanted to fit in and do certain things. And then I just was like, this is who I am. And then the last couple years, I've just really found this community of people like Jim and everyone else. So it's probably been within the last few years that I really just kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And I think also making a podcast, this is my second podcast, and like doing content creation on like TikTok and other stuff like that. As a creator, you don't want people bashing you just because they don't like it. It's the same for even the Hollywood movie makers, right? Or
Yeah.
famous authors. You don't need to bash their work if it's just not for you.
Right.
So I'm not as hyper negative anymore.
I've earned my moniker of pedantic. I'm not gonna lie, because there are some things I just can't stand, and I have to let people know about it.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get to. I was trying to say, like, so there's hope for Jim then that eventually he'll get there.
No.
Because
I'm too salty at this age. Yeah, no.
I mean, that's when it goes back around and you're like, you know what? This is how I am. And if you don't like it, then pick
Well,
rocks.
I am very blunt. I'm a very
Yeah.
blunt, direct person, and I say what I feel, but I think there's a way to do it without being hurtful.
That's true. That is true. I don't try and hurt anybody's feelings, and most of the time when I get really rough about and savage about stuff, it's about characters and not about people.
But also,
So-
as gay men, isn't it part of our right to be petty and savage?
Yeah, I mean that's probably
Like, there's
true.
a part in certain things we have to like. It's not acceptable for other like heterosexual people to do, but for us, it's
Right.
not hurtful.
No, that's true. That's true. I do enjoy getting catty every now and then.
You have to.
So
I mean, I do kind of live off drama. So yeah, kind of. It's in the blood, unfortunately.
So JJ, how did you start with building the characters? Because each one of the 12 queens that you have in this book, they're all very distinct, and I feel, at least when I read this book, I felt like you had a clear idea of the character and maybe not the scene when you started writing it, because it was very clearly defined. Like you knew who this person was, and then I feel like the scene was just kind of naturally happening through the story.
Yeah.
Is that true or no?
Yeah, I mean, like, so again, this is kind of where my quirks, being OCD, kind of worked out, because it was like, okay, this is this person, this is what she likes, this is her shtick, this is what she's gonna stick with, and like, so my main character is Gamble Donapart, which is my favorite name ever, and if I can't do drag, but if I ever did, my name would be Gamble Donapart.
I was gonna
Um,
ask you if you had been into drag, like your inspiration for the drag
mm,
queen in general. Are you a fan of like Dragula, Drag Race? Like,
Yep, I watched them all. I think they're great. I think I mean, if anything, this whole everything from the research I did to, like, I have drag queen friends that were like research and reference for this. Like, I've learned so much just from having to try and draw them. Like, you have to basically learn how to do makeup in order to draw a drag queen. So I'm like, to know that they do this every day and make it look good too. I'm like, that's a lot of work. And I mean, it's like, I mean, I went back to look up like pantomime way back, the original what drag came from. So I did like deep dives, but it definitely gave me a lot more of a respect for the whole thing. But yeah, I probably watched just about every season of Drag Race. Please don't sue me, RuPaul. I've watched Dragula. I've watched just about. I just watched the Drop Dead Gorgeous movie, which I watched that movie.
the Death Drop Gorgeous one?
Death Drop Gorgeous. Sorry, yeah, Death Drop
It's
Gorgeous.
it's a mess.
You know what?
I love
That's
that
great.
movie.
Yeah.
We just had BPS on here. He was involved with that movie. He did
Yep,
some of the
I know.
special effects.
And he had he was the greasy
Oh,
bar
right.
owner in there too. Yeah,
I haven't seen that one yet, so
The main
yeah.
actor, the main actor in that, we follow each other on X or Twitter, or whatever you want to call it. He's pretty cool.
nice.
Yeah.
I don't remember his
and
name on there, but
I watched it, like, I want to say like maybe 3 months before I put the book out, and I was so nervous. I'm like, I really looked up every single drag book, any drag movie, just to make sure I wasn't stealing anyone's ideas or anything. And I found that movie. And I was like, oh shit, please, 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 please don't. And then I'm like, okay, you're safe. It's okay, just to be safe. But
So, JJ, Rebecca Leanne says that that we need a 12 Days of Drag graphic novel for Christmas.
okay, I like that. Thank you, Rebecca, for being good, because I didn't think she would. But yeah, there's just as a request, please don't read anything else that she says, because it's going to be horrible.
PSA.
But yeah, I have lots of plans for Gig of the Damned, and I kind of accidentally made like a universe that is going to basically, like, I even found a way. I'm writing a new book now called Sesame Timbers. It's going to be out a couple months, I hope, if I could ever stop drawing covers instead of and like actually write the book.
I mean, they
But
are
there's gonna be
delicious.
ties.
I do love the cover.
I mean, but there's going to be ties into the church that is mentioned in Gig of the Dam. So there's going to
Really?
be lots of little, and there's going to be a season 2 that's going to basically be drag queens all stuck on a popular drag reality show
Right.
that are, it might sound familiar, please don't sue me, but I'm going to do my best to, I think it's the perfect opportunity where it's like, yeah, they're locked in, like, they don't want spoilers. So, and you know how like on like Drag Race All Stars, if somebody is sent home, they don't actually go home, they go on to like another area. So it just so happens that, oh, so and so's gone, so she won't be missed. So there can be a lot of people without even, I've got a lot of big plans for it, but I'm also trying to there's another the characters that I love in Gig of the Dam, the original, I'm not done with them yet. So there's going to be more coming with that. There's going to be a little novella that is going to be, I'm planning on having a hardcover that will include a novella that is like a little bit of a prequel type thing. So, I mean, I obviously like horror movies, so I'm going to do prequels. I'm going to do as many nods as I can. So yeah, there's lots more to come.
So Emmy Smith says that we're going to call this the Phrique verse.
I like it.
Yeah. And then KL Alistair likes the term Phrique-orama.
Yeah, you know what? There's lots of things I could do as long as they're pronouncing it Phrique. I'm all I'm all for it.
You can name the reality show they're on, Freak Show. Just make it your name.
So then what I did was, in order to again not get sued, it's called, I should know the name of my own thing. Chantal's Slaying Dragon Race. So it's
Okay.
basically I'm covered. Get
Yeah.
sued. But also you know exactly who I'm referencing. But Chantal is going to be an older drag queen who does not who contractually has to find her successor, and she of course doesn't want to. So she's gonna make all these challenges difficult on purpose and basically make their lives hell. And she's just kind of there, and she's gonna be very like Eartha Kitt and very like older. Just everything she does to try and sabotage is just going to like. There's going to be people who are angry about Extra Manessa and how she went out. So there's going to be like protesters that are like justice for Extra, and they're all going to do this TikTok dance called like the Extra, where when they do a death drop, they don't catch with their legs, so they're basically just falling on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like the new TikTok trend that's going to play into a challenge. Like I have all this stuff in my head. I need to write that down before I forget.
Hey JJ,
Yes.
Brandon Perez Sanchez wants to know, does she have a fracking empire too?
You know what? I'm gonna put so much where it's kind of like I'm almost gonna be the point. You know what? Sue me. It'll get me some more publicity. Why not? Because like if you read any of my work, like I don't pull punches. Like I'm gonna tell you exactly what's on my mind.
Mhm.
So it's like, yeah, there's been a little bit of a problematic background there, so I might poke that bear just a little bit, but then also be careful because I believe she has like a whole like book empire coming up on, but we'll come to that when I when I get to it, when I have to deal with Ingram Sparks again, which in case you guys didn't know about Ingram Sparks, it is I don't want to spit on camera, but not a fan at all. And if they were closer, I would go down to their headquarters and bite whoever is involved with emailing, because it's just been a nightmare.
So Veronica says there has to be at least one dragon makeup.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
Yep, she's
I mean, yeah, there's gonna be.
And then Rebecca says that uses the line, "Oh, you're a girl dragon."
Oh, okay, I like that. Oh yeah, because they could do like on Shrek,
Yeah.
the girl dragon they have there. I like that. All right.
And instead of candy
You know what?
kids, they can be freak folks.
All right. I like that. You know what? I'm writing this down. I'm legit gonna write it down.
Just
There you
write
go, Rebecca.
everything
He's
down.
putting it in his book.
Wait, I didn't know Rebecca said it. Hold on now. Let me,
Oh,
let me
never mind,
rethink that.
Rebecca. I'm sorry.
Give her an alias.
My dog is going crazy out in the living room. Sorry, I keep muting myself. So anyway, let's talk about mayonnaise. Can we? Can we spoil a little bit? Like, because it's not it's not really integral to the story, right? Because everybody knows that these 11 drag queens die, right? So the deli slicer, like that was genius. That was genius because I used to work in a deli slicing meat, and I was like, I've had this thought before. So this was pretty ingenious. I did have a little like we talked, right? And I told him specifically reading the chapter with Extra Mayonnaise, I really felt like he hated fat people. I really did. But it wasn't about the weight, obviously. It was about everything else that encompasses this character. But let me just say I love Extra only because she was, I don't know, all of us have felt like that character at some point in our life, right? Whether whether it's been warranted or not, whether we're doing it to ourselves or it's just, you know, being lazy or whatever. And I don't know, I really loved the fact that she felt so real. Like she did. Everybody knows somebody like Extra. Everybody. Like the minute you read it, Eric, if you haven't read Gig of the Damned yet, you'll know.
I'm definitely gonna pick it up because it's right up my alley. Horror and drag queens. It's
Yeah, it's fantastic. It is absolutely. But anyway, I I don't know that just that death scene. I've always been curious what would happen if you put a head on one of those slicers, but now I know.
Are we allowed to share our intrusive
Yep.
thoughts
And I
live
mean,
like this?
Yes, absolutely. Remember,
why
this is
not?
not TikTok, so you can say
I
whatever you want.
wrote a book. I wrote a whole book out of my intrusive thoughts. Like I thought, what would you do if you had a bunch of drag queens? How would you kill them? So I said, put on a book. Why
Yeah.
not?
Now you're on the
There
FBI list. No, I'm kidding.
Multiple.
But you do know that.
But yeah, so extra.
Yeah, extra. But you do know that Ho Behave was my favorite, and we talked about why, which is not going to be said on the podcast. But I loved her, and it wasn't just because of her backstory, because I think that that whole death scene with Ho Behave was just so fitting to the world she lived in that it felt right. And that's a lot of what you did well. I thought you did well in this book was the actual death scenes. It's not that they felt warranted, because they didn't, but they felt natural because it was part of who these characters were. You didn't take them out of their world to be put into this peril. It just happened as part of their natural world. And that's what I liked so much about the death scenes. So have you read much Stephen King, JJ?
I mean, I wish I had the attention span that would allow such a thing, but I read
make a suggestion.
way back, like one of the.
Let me make a suggestion. There's a book called Cycle of the Werewolf, and it's almost like you took that book and used it for your inspiration for this book, because it's essentially just a bunch of short death scenes and then a story at the very end. But and that's why I loved it, because that's one of my favorite books by Stephen King. It's almost like a graphic novel. It's not really a normal Stephen King book.
What's the name?
A Cycle of the Werewolf. It's out of print now, so you're only going to find it at thrift stores and online.
Because I'm a Stephen King fan, but I haven't. Have
you seen Silver Bullet?
No, I started later. But I'm going back. Like his earliest work for me would be Pet Sematary and The Shining.
So this the basis for the movie Silver Bullet was Cycle of the Werewolf. But it's just a bunch of death scene, gruesome death scenes, and then a story at the end. And that's how I felt listening, or not listening, because you don't have an audiobook yet. But reading Gig of the Damned it felt like a bunch of death scenes, but you obviously have the story in between, because you go into Gamble's backstory and you explore everything that Antonio's gone through, and it was so great. Like I don't know, it hit all the right buttons for me, and I normally am not a big fan of a twist just for a twist's sake, but the ending of this book was like a chef's kiss, because it just made so much sense. And that's what I love about it, is there was so much thought and planning put into this book, and you can tell with the way that you wrote it. And you don't see a whole lot of drag queen horror.
No.
I mean, that's why I said, like, if no one else did it, then why not? Because at least I know I could do it right, and I'll do it in a way that's paying homage to them, where it's like there's no part in any of it where I'm just like obviously, drag is kind of in danger with people just making them the scapegoat for XYZ. So I think that's also a perfect time to be like, yep, they have enough shit going on. And I mentioned that in the story too. So now they got to also deal with some psycho that's like coming after them when they're just trying to get their
and it does make a little bit of a political statement, because and not in a grandiose way, right? There's just little things that are said throughout the book that make you realize what they're going through in life besides all of this. And that was really important, because a lot of people forget that they're just people too.
Yep.
They have so much other stuff going on besides wearing drag up. Jesus Christ. Makeup.
Drag up.
Yeah, the drag up. There you go. But that's one thing that I really love. Another thing I really loved is you captured humanity with these people, when normally when they're used in a movie or a book, they're used as caricatures. Like there's a book series I read, I'm not going to name it, but I literally stopped reading the series, and I'd been through 8 books already, when the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse showed up, and they were drag queens, and they were nothing but stereotypes. There was nothing that lent any sort of meat and potatoes to the characters. They were all just stupid stereotypes and tropes, and it was awful.
Yeah, I mean, you had me for the Four Horsemen, but then I was like, yeah, that's kind of yeah. And when you waste that though, it's like I hate wasted opportunities. That's why, like, it's still kind of weird because I just kind of wrote down what my brain. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say I got a little bit of a tidbit in the chat here. So you keep giving Rebecca shit. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, because she is basically my little sister. But we are not related, but I'm pretty sure that we are because she
Family
was
is
born
not
about
always blood.
No, but like honestly, my father and most of the ancestors on his side were all whores, so they all pretty much just I'm pretty sure there's lots of like siblings that I don't know about that will show up at the funeral, and she's probably gonna be one of them. And we do look similar. She's like 2 feet shorter than me. I think she's like 3'8". So and it sucks because she's like all boobs, so it's just I know she falls a lot. But yeah, she's like my little adopted little sister. I definitely like the mental illnesses are definitely there, so I can see the resemblance. But yeah, she's my little sister, so you know I get to give her shit. I didn't have little sisters. I have an older brother and a younger brother, so yeah, she's about as close as I get to a sister, and the reason why I'm glad I don't have one. So
You called her
that's why.
Buddy Boop?
I call her a lot of things that I probably shouldn't say on here. So yeah.
Fair enough. So Eric, are you an avid reader?
Sometimes I go through phases of things. I don't know if it's like ADHD or whatever the case is, but I'll go through like I'm reading now, or I'm watching a bunch of movies, or I'm playing a bunch of video games. My life is super busy, so I can't do everything all the time
Fair enough.
because I don't know how to sit the hell down.
Who are some of your favorite authors?
Stephen King.
Fair enough.
That's just where I'm at with
Yep.
most of my stuff, but I have a lot of books, to the fact where I'm like, I'm just gonna get a Kindle because I will read a book, but I'm not a reader. So to have a bunch of books around, I'm not gonna read more than once, like I would a game or a movie. So now I have a Kindle to be able to read and enjoy, but I'm trying to catch up on the latest Stephen King books. But I'm very, very, very interested in JJ's book. Is it on Kindle?
Yep.
Kindle Unlimited, and which I recently got a Kindle in the last couple months, and it does make a difference. Like it seemed cool to be able to like read on my phone and read on my iPad, whatever, but the minute I see a notification pops up, my ADD ass is gonna already click it. So then, but Kindle, nice and you don't see the time, it's nice and easy, it's nice and light, and then yeah, the Kindle Unlimited is great because you can just you know, and then if you don't, it's weird too because now I'm on the other side where I'm like, okay, so Kindle Unlimited, you get paid basically by like the pages people read, so it's almost like it's working out for me because people want to read the story, so then I can see that you can actually see how many pages they're read going up, but. Yeah, there's a lot of like
Nice.
Baby.
You can't even see it because of the green screen.
I can see it when you pull it back a little. We can see
Yeah.
it. I love the
But,
artwork, but that's really cool about the page thing. But the reason I didn't even do Kindle was I was like, I liked the way the books felt and smelled. Like I was only a hardback kind of guy, but I have the Kindle paper white, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I have both. I literally have over 600 books that are all older than me, probably. I like the old vintage, like the trashy 70s, 80s, just like same thing in the movies. So I'll probably die before I read all those, but I'm trying. And then of course my Kindle probably has a couple hundred too. So, but yeah, I mean, I mainly read indie horror now. And now that I see again on this side, like, yeah, we kind of have to, like, you'll see posts in like different groups where like, oh, I read this book and it was good and all, but I didn't realize it was like an indie author that did it. Ew. Like,
really?
I'm like, that's, yeah, like people really say that stuff. I'm like, but like the person you have is just putting out, I mean, no offense to Stephen King, but sometimes you could just keep putting books out that are, kind of the same, just kind of regurgitated. And because your name's stamped on it, they'll do that. So I'm like, if I'm gonna read your stuff, I need to know that you put some gusto in it and that you like stepped out and said like, hey, this is my baby, you should read it. And there's been a lot of really good books that I've kind of found that way. So
I have never really been one to search out indie authors until I joined TikTok. And then I found Veronica and Karen, and they just opened my eyes. And even still, I always wanted to dip my toe into extreme horror, but I always said I had too many triggers, right? Like I couldn't do it.
What do you mean by extreme horror? How would
it ramps up the violence and the sex and the misogyny and the essay, all of that sort of stuff is a lot more prevalent. So if you have a whole lot of triggers, like I thought I did, it's probably not for you. But then I read, I don't know how I got this book, but I read, oh my God, what is the name of it? The Dark Side of Hell by Patrick C. Harrison III.
You told me about that one. I have to read that still.
After reading that book, nothing bothers me anymore except child essay. I still can't read about that, but anything else is fair game now.
And I mean, that's basically kind of what extreme horror is. It's pushing the boundary on purpose.
Yep.
And I think that there's certain authors that literally just, I mean, they're gonna slam that button. Like, so there's gonna be dead babies and, you know, a rotting corpse of your mother, and then you got to shit on her and whatever. Just it reads. I mean, some of them.
Yep.
No shade, but some of them read kind of like a 12-year-old is trying to piss off their parents, and those are the ones I can get in. And again, my story has like 12 really gory deaths, and I like body horror, and I very probably over descriptive, but like I try to at least squeeze a story in there and like some jokes to kind of liven it up, but there's still 12 big gory deaths. And I think that's like extreme horror can do that. And that's why my book would be considered more splatterpunk, mainly because of which is just basically it's in the same vein as extreme horror, but it is punk. I'm being transgressive because it's drag queens, because it's them being unapologetically queer without having to be like, hey sisters with the rainbow flag. Like, this is just them being normal, complete. If they want to be, you know, femme, if they want to be trans, if they want to be like, in my head, my main character, Gamble Down Part, is on the way to be trans, trying to figure out, because like she made a comment before the funeral, which is one of my favorite scenes in the world, that she hates wearing boy clothes. And it's to the point where like, I think that you can do that without having it to be such a, oh, this is the gay character, this is the straight character. I don't think that's real life. And I think that that's what I tried to do, where my book is predominantly people of color. And I think I was able to do that without just saying, oh, this is the black character. Like, I think there's to a point where that's reality though. So I think that, anything in my book becomes more splatterpunk, because I'm saying, look how this could be done.
Right.
You don't have to piss off your parents. You could write a good story and also have violent deaths and just have everybody included.
I think that's why it's important for like indie authors or creators in general, when they do, like, especially people of their own communities, right? When you're not doing the token gay character, the token black character, because you're not that heterosexual straight white man that's making content thinking of only what you see, so you're only doing surface level things, right? Which is why we have to promote people like you on our indie podcasts or whatever, to really build communities on social media, because our stories are out there, and there's depth to them, but you have to fight through all the bullshit on top.
And that's
what
sorry, go ahead, JJ.
Well, no, I just like, I did an interview where I kind of made little jokes about that. Maybe I'll throw like a token straight person in one of my stories once in a while, but I actually kind of have it, because it's like, I also think I'm kind of dichotomous, where, you know, I'm one or the other. So I'm going to kind of be, my book says violent as fuck, bloody as fuck, gay as fuck. So I'm gonna write the gayest shit possible. Like Sesame Timbers is about is a lesbian womanizer who lumberjack who falls into a convent and literally like soap opera, she has amnesia, forgets who she is, remembers because she starts having sex with the nuns, and I'm doing my full, like I said, what's the opposite of a drag queen slasher? Lesbian lumberjack nuns. So that's and it's all very lesbian. Like it's not like, oh, you know, two bi girls having a slumber party and just having like, you know, tickle fights. Like, no, this is some lesbianic stuff. So that's what I wanted to do. And it's like, but there's also they're nuns. So I'm also going to point out that yes, this Mother Superior, who's kind of the bad guy, she doesn't understand why she has these urges that are wrong. So she has to self-flagellate. She has to punish herself for having these urges that are just coming natural to her. So it's like, again, I think there's a way to do that where it could be a good story, but also I'm letting people know, yeah, this is kind of real. So
yeah.
I'm curious, what does Rebecca mean when she says you did her character wrong?
Okay, so the opening for Sesame Timbers, well, the second opening, because I just finished my prologue, which I'm so excited for everyone to read. But we open up to Paulina Bunyan. Yes, that's her name. She's the lumberjack, and she is going on a date with this girl, and they're up in like the PNW, so like, you know, California, you know, Oregon, something like that. And they go to this lesbian bar where I even said like it's not a lesbian bar, but there's lots of Subarus in the parking lot. So we'll say that. And of course she knows she slept with just about everybody there. So yeah, so Rebecca walks up to her car while she's waiting on her date, and she's like, "So, did you forget my number or what?" And so she's like, "Oh, I don't have my phone. I've been busy with work." And then of course her phone goes off. And so yeah, Rebecca, she doesn't last too long, but yeah, she cusses her out, and then I may have to throw her back in just for something. But yeah, I used a lot of my friends in this, but Rebecca kind of she deserved a little bit better. But I did mention how big her boobs were, so that's kind of a plus.
I mean, that's something, right?
Yeah.
So what do you have in store before we get into Sesame Timbers? Because I have some questions.
Oh.
But for Gig of the Damned, what is that good? Is season 2 going to be your next work, or do you have something coming before that?
I have so freaking many. Like, okay, so I'm usually pretty assertive. No, I'm not. I'm a Pisces, so I'm not. But like I somehow got talked into doing 5 anthologies. 5.
I know about like, one.
Yes. And yours was the one I think I might be most excited for because I know. I mean, sorry.
I'm gonna have to hit you up after this now.
Yeah.
Look away. So I'm doing 5 different stories. One is I have to come up with like 2, and then yeah, I'm in the middle of that. But then I also have the original story I was supposed to do before Gig of the Damned was supposed to be called Rearranged Guts, which is a killer that goes on Grindr and looks up his victims and basically explodes them like different ways. He lets them know that he enjoys toys, and it's sex toys that are basically retrofitted with torture devices. Like I went to the torture museum in Chicago. I've been doing lots and lots of really gross research, but it's basically going to be like kind of you don't know who you're having sex with, especially when you're going on like an anonymous app. So what if the person that you're having sex with looks great, but they don't have the best of intentions for you? So it's kind of playing into that. And I kind of, you know, I'm not trying to sex shame anybody. But it's like, yeah, you don't know who's on the other side of that app. And so
True.
it's basically going to be rearranged guts. It's going to be about lots of different gross ways to do that. But then that's probably going to be a novella. And then I'm going to do Twink Death, which is, so I'm going to try and do a double feature, like the old school Grindhouse, like where you get two.
Okay.
And so Twink Death is going to be about a YouTuber who meets up with a sugar daddy who basically wants to eat him. So it's kind of it's a take on Hansel and Gretel.
It's sort of like that German serial killer or cannibal couple thing.
I have that saved as a tab in my browser that I'm sure the FBI agent loves. But yeah, that's in there. But it's also going to be making fun of a certain YouTuber who had a mukbang channel that his mental health wasn't going well, and as he got bigger, like in Hansel and Gretel, he becomes more like he almost gets in a relationship with a feeder type thing. But it's going to be lots of like, again, it's going to be talking about, you know, body image issues and, you know, the gay scene where it's like, oh, look, like I'm like, he's going to make, it's going to open up with him like, you know, oh, I can't eat that because, you know, I have to bottom tonight. So I have to have like Aaron salad for dinner and like stuff like that. But then it's going to, and then he gets to like meet this sugar daddy who wants to let him live on his compound, and he gets to eat all day and just make content. So he's like, this is amazing. What could go wrong here? So, but yeah, so those are after Sesame Timbers, it should be those two.
So we have a request. Dom, our buddy that rapped for us earlier, wants a story set on an Amish farm.
Amish farm. Okay. I can do that. Farm.
I'm not sure where that's going to go yet, but if you need some inspiration, Deadly Blessing is a good place to start.
Deadly Blessing.
It's a Wes Craven film. Sharon, coincidentally, Sharon Stone's first film.
I was gonna say I think I've is it what about like they're grabbing her head like on the poster? Yep, I saw that. That was weird.
It's great though.
Weird like that.
They did the trans twist in a film a year before Sleepaway Camp, but nobody ever talks about it.
Interesting.
You know what? That I didn't even think about that.
Yep.
I mean, I watched. They do that a lot in Giallos. So a lot of them I'm watching like, that's kind of problematic, but also, you know, it's from before our time, so it's one of those. Yeah.
And if you ever want an idea, so funny story, one of the most traumatic movies I've ever seen in my life was not a horror film. It was a Skinamax After Dark movie.
Skinamax.
Hard Ticket to Hawaii. And
I don't think I'm familiar with that one.
They have a scene where a radioactive snake comes up through a toilet. I couldn't use a bathroom for a week.
Yeah, nope. I saw that happened on Goonies. I saw the Goonies, they came out of a toilet and I said, nope.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Goonies, like the other Goonies, like the kids that were in the cave.
Oh no, the Ghoulies. Sorry, I always
Ghoulies.
Yeah, I was like, they didn't remember this.
Yeah, no, but that part didn't bother me. Oh, and Brendan loves Hard Ticket to Hawaii. Of course he does.
Yeah.
I may have to. I don't know. You know what? No, I'm not. I literally added like 50 new movies to my like TBW list last night because I found like I was going down a Giallo list and they had like 70s exploitation, whatever. Legit added like 60, and I don't know why.
I saw another Giallo the other day. I don't know if it's a Giallo, it's a Fulci film. Lots of eye torture in this film. Lots.
I can't do that stuff.
If there was a meme that said she had eyes and I took this personally, I would have used it, but I couldn't.
What was it? What was the title of that one?
The Beyond from 1981.
Oh, that's a good one.
Is it?
I mean, that was, you know what? Hold on, because I think
is it really?
I made a list. I mean, not to a Gemini that's stuck in his ways, but
you're not wrong.
Wait,
I think Emmy Smith says, "Here we go."
Yep, I said we are not going to be okay. No, I did not have that written down.
Well, we haven't talked about Suspiria yet, so we're okay still.
I have never seen that.
The new one or the remake or the original?
Both.
Jim, put on your location. I want to.
I legit am. My first horror movies I remember were Argentos, and I accidentally watched them because this is going to give away. I did accidentally watch them where I was little and just like our like channel 50 in Chicago was just kind of, they would play horror movies on Sundays, and my mom would go to work and my dad would just let us watch whatever. And I watched 2 Argento movies and didn't even realize they were Argentos till now, where it was Phenomena and
God, that movie's so boring. I fell asleep 4 times trying to watch that movie.
Do you know that I honestly think that was the first time my parents figured out that I was going to need therapy, because I'm trying to explain to them what I saw, and I told them that there's like bugs, and there's like a Chucky doll that was like cutting off people's heads with scissors and all this, and they're looking at me like, okay, JJ, sure. Like, and then I watched Trauma, which I still like. I'm remembering this stuff and I'm thinking, I had a really, like, my imagination was just crazy, but there really was there was a machine that they were putting over people's heads, and it would just pull the wire and it would cut their heads off. And then they had to make a point that said, like, you can talk for 10 seconds after your head's been cut off. And they literally just caught someone who got their head cut off.
That's not true.
But then she just got her head cut off.
You sever the vocal cords. There's
like,
no more sound. You're not.
And they're like,
you're not doing anything.
I mean, that's the joy of Argento. Because then they walk up on someone who just got their head cut off, and like, who was it? And she said, it's 10 seconds. That's it. Like, you never got to know. But yeah, I watched all these when I was way too young, and this is how it turned out. So
do you want to know another?
We all have watched stuff way too young.
Oh God, yeah.
I'm letting my cat out of the room. I'm muting myself for a moment.
That's okay, no problem. So another film that absolutely traumatized me was The Meaning of Life. Monty Python's The Meaning of Life.
Meaning of Life. I watched a bunch of those, but I can't remember which one that one is. I know the history of the world.
There's a scene where these guys come to this woman's house because her husband is an organ donor and they need his organs. And they throw him up on the table and they start to take his organs.
I can see that being a little traumatic.
Well, but here's why it bothered me, right? Is because coincidentally, that morning, my mother had just gotten her driver's license renewed. And it had a giant red sticker that said organ donor, because back in the 80s, you had a sticker.
Yeah.
So it freaked me out. I cried for 3 days.
Yeah. I mean, so I just found out recently, I figured it out, thanks therapy, that like I'm one of the, like, if my mom or like my grandma gets like cut or whatever, like I freak out. Like my brain just doesn't know. And my mom and my grandma are Polish, and they're very clumsy, and they literally will like cut off half of their hand, and then we'll find it in the salad, and they'll just be like, hey, JJ, can you go get me a Band-Aid with blood everywhere? Mind you, I literally write some of the most bloody, gory scenes ever, but if I see my mom with a paper cut, like I'll faint. It doesn't make any sense. Go ahead, Jim.
Can I geek out for 1 minute right now?
Go for it.
I just got a notification and I cannot hold it in. So Sean Whalen just commented on one of my videos.
I don't know what that is, but
so he's got this movie. You'll know him. He's a huge character actor, right? But I saw a video, a trailer for his new movie Crust, like a year ago, which is about a down and out actor who owns a laundromat, and he saves all of the left behind clothes, and they become sentient and try to protect him.
And it's called Crust?
Screaming Crust. I've been screaming for this movie now for a year, and it's finally happening. It's getting a limited release in September. And so I made a video about it, and he just commented on it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to geek out, but that's amazing.
Hey. We all geek out.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue, please. Where were we?
Family members cutting off their hands in the salad.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's that's legit what they did. And then like just the other, okay, so not even 3 days ago, my mom stepped on my cat, not once, but twice. And he was a street cat. Like in a row. Like
she stomped the cat.
Like, I mean,
Yeah?
basically,
I mean, it seems intentional at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to make any jokes about Leos and their inability to tell the truth, but I'm
Listen.
just saying that
Very truthful. We are very truthful to a fault.
I was raised by one. So honestly, again, this is a product of a Leo. So
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean,
but
I have a
So this
Leo
is what
in
my
life.
future kid is going to be like.
I mean,
I have a Leo in my life, and we don't get along at all.
I have no
we haven't
Leos in
talked
my life.
5 years.
I'm the only Leo I know.
I love my mother, and she's not at all in my book in the mother character.
No, not at all.
No,
No.
none whatsoever. My mother that will not go get the mail unless she has a full face of makeup. But we won't go there.
Yeah.
My mom used to be like that in
listen,
the 80s.
That's fine. That's
Yeah.
My mom
fine.
was like that in the 80s. That's not new.
But yeah, my mom stepped on my cat, and he was a street cat. He's a rescue. Like, we found him in my backyard a year ago. So he's still kind of not. He didn't get the memo that he's like not out in the street. But he stepped on her twice. She stepped on him twice. So he like attacked her ankle. I'm talking like it's swelling, it's blood everywhere, and she's just telling me this and I'm just kind of sitting there like, okay, so I'm not gonna look at it. And she's like, look at all this blood. And then she took pictures to show me all the blood all over the bathroom. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, this is I could have sworn we had the talk that seeing your blood and all that is kind of triggering for me. And she's just, look at all of it. Like,
I mean, so I have a question for you, JJ. Is it really that dramatic, or are you just being a crybaby?
Well,
it is a Pisces trait.
That is allowed. As a Pisces, that is allowed.
Okay.
We are very in tune with our feelings, and if you hurt them, we'll burn your house down. But
all right.
But like, I mean, you of all people know, if you have a trigger, it's a trigger. I don't know what it.
That's very true.
Honestly, I mean, I don't want to be that nerd, but I am an evolutionary psychology nerd, and I know that. I mean, it's kind of textbook. You don't want your mom to die, so
yeah, of course.
When I see blood, it makes me think of my mom dying. So, I mean, that's basically it. But I think it's just to know how clumsy she is, where she's just like, oh yeah, I almost got like ran over by a car yesterday. It's like, and I'm sitting here like, but then my mom will die, and then I'll have no one to blame for all this. So, like, what am I?
You still blame her
what
after.
am I?
Yeah, I mean, parental trauma stays with you your whole life. So whether they're here or not, you can still blame them.
Yeah,
Yes,
my
and
mom's
mommy
been dead for
dearest
20
too.
years.
Yeah, right. I mean, and it just continues, right? Because if they're not here anymore, they can't defend themselves. So nobody's gonna never not believe you, even if you make this shit up.
That's why I said.
But Rebecca said
Mom,
that you don't like being called a Pisces crybaby, so I just had to bring it up.
I forgot what she is besides horrible. Just she's a warning sign. That's what she is.
Gotcha.
Oh no,
So-
she's a Libra. That's right. God.
Oh God, my ex-wife was a Libra. That's not good.
She's gonna be a couple people's ex-wife still. Yeah, that's yeah.
Sometimes that's goals, right?
So let's talk about Scissor Me Timbers, shall we? So Scissor Me Timbers. I have had the pleasure of reading little snippets here and there, and it's funny as shit. Like, it's right up my alley with that. Not so much with the lesbian stuff, but for whatever reason, I'm just not like the sex part of books in general are just not my thing. Like, I could skip them altogether, which is why I'm such a huge fan of David R. Slayton. Excuse me for 1 second.
That's fine.
Stop it.
The puppies are going to be puppies. I
Yes,
have
they
two,
are.
like I said, downstairs, and that's why my door's shut.
I love when people's kids act up. It's hilarious to me.
Oh my God, I know.
That's a father and son doing that right now. Stop it. Anyway, those are my toes. Stop it. Anyway, I forgot where I was going with this. Jesus Christ. So Scissor Me Timbers, right? We were going to talk about that.
Yeah, you want to know all about the clitorises and the labias.
Yeah, no,
and
but what I was
vulvas and all
what
that.
I was gonna say is, like, David R. Slayton, like I have a huge space in my heart for LGBTQ focused books, right? And I love urban fantasy. I absolutely adore it. The problem is, if you get a gay centric urban fantasy, it becomes paranormal romance, and it's all about the sex scenes. And I don't need any of that. I like the emotional connections more than than the actual sex. That's what gets me into a story, right?
Mhm.
But like with Scissor Me Timbers, the stuff that I've read, it doesn't bother me because it's all a natural flow and it's hysterical. Like
I mean,
have had so much fun with the stuff you've been nice enough to share with me that I just love it. I can't wait to read it.
I'm glad, because this is, again, brand new territory for me. And like, just for me to write sex scenes is ridiculous, because I am my mother's child. I clutch my pearls. Like, I don't even, like, if someone, just to say sex, I used to, probably a couple months ago, I would have said, you got to whisper that part.
Right.
But I literally had to train myself to, like, I started on my Substack. It's called Lube Me Up with Fry Grease, and it was literally a joke. And it was me writing the most outlandish, gross sex scenes, but instead of sex organs, like, they'll say, like, he slammed his quarter pounder into her McGriddle, and then sounded like, am I frozen? But no,
I'm sharing my screen because you guys need to see some of these comments that are happening here.
On Facebook.
Okay. Oh, so now man, why did I tell her that I was going to be on here? And again, you know what? And you know what, Rebecca, you almost got me, because I almost made that joke about your position in the lesbian touch. Anyways.
Okay, then.
Anyways.
I see.
Because I told her that because I needed to talk to lesbians so I can, get more reference. And since she only shows up to bat for the team 50% of the time, I said I wanted someone more experienced. That's all. I can't get canceled for that. I'm just saying I want someone that, has literally been in the, I need
it does come off as a little biphobic, right?
No, I am 100%. The bi people are great. I hope they make a decision someday, but if they don't, that's better for them. I'm just joking. It's all jokes. I'm all jokes. The way
You're
that I
all
draw
canceled
boobs,
now. I'm just saying.
like, the way I draw boobs nonstop, and have drawn boobs since I was in high school, in Catholic high school, drawing boobs continuously, there has to be a little part of me that just, Anyway, so, to write sex scenes is crazy for me. I had to literally train myself to do it. And that is going to end up being my second book, The Lube Me Up with Fry Grease. I just sent it out to my editor. So that is ridiculous. That is hilarious. It is sex, but I'm making fun of erotica. Like, I'm literally
bizarre, which I'm going to love. And
it is bizarro.
You and I've talked about this because I've actively avoided your Substack for that reason.
So is my mother.
I'm just not into the whole erotica thing. And I've just not read any of it. I've skipped it all.
I don't read it. I don't seek it out. I've read a couple just to kind of learn, but it's just, if anything, it worked because I've written my first ever sex scene, which is in the 70 Timbers. I think I sent that to you. PR rep, if you're listening to this, I didn't show him anything. She keeps on telling me I'm supposed to not. I can't help it. The minute I'm done drawing something, I have to show everybody. And the minute I'm done writing this amazing joke about Mother Superior's mustache, or I need to show everybody. So I can't help it.
Wow, way to make a guy feel minimalized. Like, I thought I was special.
You were around at 2 a.m, so that
exactly. That's all it is. You were a person of opportunity. It's not about you.
But that's legit how Gig of the Damn came about, because I was checking with people, because it's I've never written before, so is this good? Does this translate? And now it's kind of building up. But so first sex scene, I kind of like it. It's very it's a nun who's a virgin who's having sex with this girl, and who doesn't realize that she's a womanizer, because that's the past her and she has amnesia. But then we realize that her memories are coming back because she was a lumberjack, so she can fix things. So fixing little things at the convent are bringing little bits of her memory back. But the other big part of her life was sex with women. So the more sex with women she has, it starts to jog. So I kind of gave myself a perfect excuse to write all these sex scenes in. And it's not the center part, but if somebody wants to, diddle their skittle to it, then go off, whatever. But it is going to
Diddle?
be.
Did you say diddle their skittle? That's
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, because but it is going to be like. So I just watched like a YouTube about one of the main complaints people have about lesbian romance is that it's like two bi-curious girls just kind of testing it out. When it's like, nope, she's a professional lesbian and she's slept with a lot of girls. So
A professional lesbian, so she gets paid for it.
Like she's definitely got her wings and she's got everything that you could possibly like. There's probably like rungs on her. Just yeah. But it's just like I want it to be like a real lesbian character, but again, it's funny because she doesn't realize how much of a lesbian she is, but then she's in this extremely like toxically feminine place that is like it's nuns. So you have to be prim and proper, but you also have to be like religious. So you can't talk about whatever.
That apple scene was not prim and proper. I'm just saying.
I mean, so that's what I love even more is that I'm going to be using the apple, which again, it's perfect because of the Garden of Eden. By the way, chapter 5 is my favorite chapter because it's called In the Garden of Eating It from the Back. And I love it because it's so gross, but that's good writing. Like that's just, I'm ashamed and proud of myself for that. But that's the book. It's just, yep, it's gross, but also there's going to be some funny. The sex scene ends funny, gross, but kind of funny. And that's just the first one. Like I have to really work up. My next one is going to be, I have my outline shows like, okay, so Tatiana gets, what are they? I don't know what it's called. Tribbed down. I learned a new term, tribbed. They don't scissor, they trib. So Google that if you guys are bored. Because I mean, there's not just everyone knows scissor like the South Park, but tribbing is a whole other thing. So yeah, I've had to watch a lot of lesbian porn to learn my sex scenes. So now I know where like the knuckle goes, and I know where like
what
the knuckle, like you got to.
No, I don't.
You're talking to two gay men. What?
Yeah, I mean,
I
was married for 7 years, but I never got up to a knuckle.
I mean, maybe if you had, you'd still be married. Maybe I'm just
no, probably not. No.
So you're saying there was something that probably might have gotten away with that, other than
probably the affair in the backseat of a car was probably what ended it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's time for Jim's trauma. So
no, we're not doing that today. We're not. Mark's not here. We're not exploring any of that. But Emmy Smith has a question for you. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Were there any nunsploitation films that inspired you in Scissor Me Timbers?
I have my list.
I should have listened to you, Rebecca. I'm sorry.
God, is she still here?
She said not to get you started on this.
Go watch your child.
That's right, Dom. Jailhouse Jim, never forget.
You're not allowed to have joy. You have a child.
I did not say that, Rebecca. Do not take that personally.
I didn't either. I was just reading it off my list. Sorry. Nunsploitation movie. I wrote it down. I have.
She's with her daddy, by the way.
Oh, so that's why she's been hitting the sauce. Gotcha.
We planned it on the right weekend. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. My number one is called The Devils. It is so like it's almost all these are from the 70s, but it's called The Devils. And it's like their mother superior. She has like scoliosis, so she's got like a hump type thing. And there's this one scene because it's almost all in black and white, but there's this one scene like I took a picture of it because I love just how like gothic everything looked. And it was just, there's something that's maybe because I was literally forced to go to Catholic school and it shows, and like forced to go to church and literally had like Catholicism shoved down my throat. But like, there's something so creepy about this like
Is there
gigantic
priest trauma
cult.
coming? Oh God, that just sounded awful the way that came out.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that did. Like, I mean, I will say that my nickname Phrique came from a priest, but not the way it sounds. But if it gets ratings, then we'll say yes.
I mean,
I'm
this
gonna
is
stay
gonna
quiet.
sound awful, but I've had a priest.
I
was an adult though. I was an adult.
Okay. I'm like, where, what?
At least I'm not the only one getting canceled here. That's fine by me. I've never gotten on my knees for a priest. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm just gonna go down the list. The Devil is great. Watch that. Demonia is also great. One called Alucarda. I want to say it's Spanish, but it was just lots of like devil imagery and Alucarda, like Alucard, but yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say because that's just Dracula spelled backwards.
Yeah. No. And then the Other Hell, Dark Waters, and then Mother Joan of the Angels. And that's
can you refresh me on Dark Waters? Because the one that I know is not about nuns.
Yeah, I'm like, I know I've seen like, I think there's like 3 Dark Waters. But yeah, this one was another like Spanish one. Most of them are like, Spanish or Italian or whatever. But Dark Waters, I believe, was just, a lot of them were like kind of like time pieces, which I didn't tell you guys, but yeah, half of these are pornos that are like basically they said, oh look, but there's some blood. But yeah, like the ongoing joke is that I'm watching pornos in my like living room because most of the time my niece will come inside and there'll be just like a full bush on my screen, so it basically looks like I'm watching porno. But no, it's like, oh no, it's research for my book. But yeah, the Dark Waters, I can't. There's nothing I can think of this that distinctly comes from it. But I mean, yeah, there's another one that's the Dark Waters. But that Mother Joan of the Angels, there's a recent nun movie where you see all the nuns like laid out, like in a cross, and like that's like the main scene that they do. Yeah, they stole that from that movie. So
since you did so much research, there was a question in the chat. I'm not going to say who asked, but is there a large market for lesbian nun porn?
Normally I would say no, but considering how much lesbian nun scenes I've watched in the last couple months, there has to be somewhere. Like,
I mean, we have step parent porn, right? I mean,
there's
daddies, all that weird stuff.
Little bit of everything.
I stand corrected. I've been told by a gay man and a straight man that yes, there is that much of a market for lesbian nun porn.
I mean, because I think it's just
who would have thought?
Because nuns can't do anything, so it's like, what would be the most taboo thing ever? Just, I think I made a joke about. Okay, so also, forced to go to Catholic school, we had to go on like a little tour of their little like monastery area. They had DVDs. So me and my friend.
Well, hold on, monastery difference. Monasteries with monks. It's a cloister with nuns.
Cloister, that I can't help but think of the Pokemon, and it makes me think of But monastery is priest, convent is nun, and
yeah, okay.
I went to, shout out to Andrea in high school. Hate you, and you're the reason why I am the way I am. But the school is built like an A, so the end of the A is where the priests live, and the other end of the A is where the nuns lived. So they lived far apart from each other, and we got to do a tour of like where they lived. And we looked at their DVDs, and the priests, legit, I swear my piercings, they had like a dirty nun movie. And so, like, I'm sitting, that's literally when I like pretty much realized, so priests can basically be just nasty, gross, filthy dudes in a different uniform. And that's kind of like, there's the opening of Sesame Timbers is priests getting what they deserved in a really gross and visceral way. But yeah, there's kind of them acting like typical guys that are treating this nun like she's just, a maid, or she's just there to wait on them hand and foot because they're they can do masses and she can't. So that's basically kind of what I'm trying to, That same scene that I saw where I'm like, so priests can be douchebags too, is basically what I put into the story. So
Fair enough. Emmy Smith said there's something about gay sex and religion that mixes together like chocolate and peanut butter.
yeah,
As long as you're not
I
allergic
mean,
to nuts, I guess that's okay, right?
yeah.
Because otherwise you'd be dead.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's why I don't know about. I'm not searching for this stuff in porn sites, but I'm pretty sure they have like Mormon stuff and like lots of. I would think there'd be priests and like altar boys. Like I wrote about altar boys in Divine Retribution. So yeah, there's got to be something there.
I just avoid religion altogether and
Yeah, I generally do too.
anything.
Religious horror is not my thing, really.
I try to, but literally, I think it's been in everything I've. Why was there a priest or why was there a church in Gig of the Damned? I don't even know, but it worked out. But obviously, it's in everything I've written so far. So obviously, it had a big impact on me. So once
JJ,
Sesame Timbers is done, I'm gonna take a break. I promise.
we have a
No
we
more
have a
free.
request from our buddy Dom. He would like
Mhm.
to know if you could write in an EpiPen kill at some point in the future.
EpiPen. Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I
FYI,
really
he's allergic to nuts. That's why
Mm.
he's asking.
I mean, because I would think what would happen if someone hit you with an EpiPen and you didn't need it, or if they did it once and then like, oh, they didn't realize they did it again, like
Right.
something gross like that. Like that's kind of what, like I think the anxiety in me is like the what ifs.
Right.
Well, let's actually write that out into a scene. So what would happen if like someone gave you an EpiPen and then they took you to the hospital and then they didn't see that someone gave you one, so then they gave you two, and then you have like kind of arrhythmia. That could be pretty gross.
Yeah, Dom is
Or
saying
just-
a jab in the eye would work.
I can say jab it in the eye.
Yeah.
That's a good one. No.
So let's talk about queer representation in horror in general. What do you like? What do you not like?
Well, again, for me, I think I was able to just work it into the story where it's like, yep, this is how they live. They don't need to be branded this way. I need to not look at your facial reactions, Jim, because
Well, because I'm looking at the Facebook chat, so it's not got nothing to do with you. So
I know.
I apologize.
no, it's that's what I get for being so observant. But that's but yeah, it's like I think we're in like okay, Evil Dead Rise. I
Yeah.
think they did a great. I loved how we had basically a trans character where we didn't need it to be stamped. It didn't need to be like, holy shit, you guys pay attention. There's this character. We can cross that off.
Right.
Like it was just, I think that because that's how the world is. It's just, this is how this person is. And why are you drawing it? Why is it such a big deal? So that's what I enjoy seeing and I hope we get more of that. And instead of just I've listened to about 2 or 3, probably more of your podcast, and it'll come up once in a while where you'll bring up like gay characters.
Mhm.
And I don't think anyone's brought up the Bride of Chucky buddy that gets like hit by the van. She had like a gay best friend who like before they went to like the honeymoon
Oh,
suite,
right, yes.
he
yes,
got
yes,
like
yes.
splattered. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, I'm pretty sure he was kind of like a stereotype too, but
He was.
what are you gonna do?
It was the 90s.
It was at that time where they're gonna do it anyways, but that's just he never came up in like your gay characters, so I just wanted to add that to like your little roster.
So here's my point of view when it comes to gay and queer representation in horror. I want them to be just like everybody else. You should be able to take those characters and swap them out for straight characters and it not affect the story at all.
Agree.
And that's what I want to see. So there's a movie called Swallowed with Mark Patton. It came out in 2023. It's about these two guys that are best friends, and one, unbeknownst to him, is in love with the other, and the other's going to LA to be a porn star. So it's their last night together, and they decide that they're going. One of them decides he's going to do a drug run to make some extra money to give to his best friend to go to LA. So they have to swallow these things. They don't ever tell you what they are. it's touted as body horror, but there's no body horror in this film at all. Unless you think fisting is body horror, because there are some scenes like that where they have to pull these things out. It's kind of disgusting, but
Okay.
that's it. That's all you get, right, with body horror. But it's a really well done film. Like you normally don't see this type of film with an entire cast of queer actors, right? I also was a bit uncomfortable with the amount of penis in this film.
I mean,
there was so much.
They're definitely
much.
throwing them out now. I don't
Yeah,
know
they are.
exactly who they're doing it for, but they're saying, you know what, penis for everybody. So
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind
If
it. It's just
if that's what you
this
like.
was my first foray into, a penis free for all. And it was
Maybe not your first, but
it was a really solid.
Wait, the poster is the one. Isn't that the one where like the neck is all
Yes.
gross?
Yeah.
Okay, so then yeah, it's on my list. But I
that
haven't
never
seen it yet.
figures into the movie, just so you know.
See, okay, I was gonna say that I would think there'd be a lot more. Okay,
There
well, enough about Jim and his penis free for alls.
Yeah, exactly. But what I will say is that it's a solid story. I've never seen Jenna Malone play the kind of character she does in this film, even though she's not in it very much. And it was great to see Mark Patton back on screen. And for him to play a villain was utter genius because he's so fucking creepy in this film. But I don't know. I love the story and I love the whole film, but I wish there was more body horror because that's what they touted it as, but there was none. Anyway, I digress. Next, Eric, you're next. What do you want to see?
I have to really just piggyback off you. I think, like you said, just being just like interchangeable and just hiring more queer actors to be in the queer roles,
Right.
because we have a lot of straight actors that still play the queer parts because they're good actors, but I think there's a plethora of great queer artists out there that I would like to see representing us in media.
I agree. Emmy Smith wants to know what the penis movie is called. Emmy, it's called Swallowed.
Of
course
course
he
it
did.
is.
Yes, of course it is.
And of course
so-
he wanted to know.
Right. Are you guys fans of the Umbrella Academy?
I haven't seen it. Is
I
there a lot of
kinda-
penises in that too?
Not so much, no. But
I have not seen that.
what I did want to bring up is that it is the film or the series that Elliot Page was involved in during their transition. And they wrote it into the show to make the character also go through the transition, and I thought it was fucking amazing. It's one of my favorite parts of the entire show.
Because they could have just got rid of him.
Right, exactly. Or force them to continue to play a female character since that's the way it's written.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They wrote his identity into the show, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful the way that it was done. And I wish more queer characters were treated that way.
I would watch it just to see that. So
Yeah,
that
it's
sounds
fantastic.
good.
I'm a little disappointed with the last season because it wasn't as quirky as the other three, but it's still a solid show.
So it's more fantasy, like that's
Yeah, it's about this family of superheroes, and every time they try and save the world, they cause an apocalypse.
Oh.
okay.
So it's that
So not a good.
they're not very
family,
good at
but
being superheroes.
They
That's a
should
little
stop.
bit more.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
more reality. It's like a more reality.
Yeah, exactly. They're essentially a broken family that is just fucked up beyond recognition, and
Oh.
it's really good at dealing with the personal issues. I think it's fun, in my opinion.
I've heard good things about it. I again, there's so many other things I have that I'm just not through yet. So
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. So let's talk about your favorite authors. JJ, what do you got?
But I was supposed to write that down and I forgot to. So,
You gave me this list.
I know, and that's why I'm sitting here like, I mean, damn it. Okay, so
So
I'll
let's
top
just
my
do
head.
recent authors, because I know you and I have read a lot of the same books recently. So let's
Yeah.
just go with recent reads. Who are your favorite authors?
Because it's very easy to say, like Judith Sonnet, obviously like way up there. I've read a lot of her books, but recently there's a lot of new authors that I really Sarah DeRosa. I loved her Foodies book. I
I need
think
to pick
she
that
is
up.
like me and her. I swear, like it's almost like when I read, so it sounds a little bit like I'm kind of tuning my own horn, but if I read someone that writes like me, I immediately am like, okay, I like them because like I get it. So she writes like I do.
I don't know what this means to you, JJ, but I need to let you know that Rebecca has said she sent this live to the group chat.
Okay, that's great. So that means there's gonna be even more ruffians coming in.
I'm just giving you a heads up in case, there's anything you need to pull back.
Thank you for the support, Rebecca. We appreciate you in your inebriated state. um Sarah DeRosa, like I said, like she I'm sharing a table with her, by the way, for
Scares that care.
Guys That Care. That's coming up, so I'm excited. And like me and her are working on a collaboration, so we're gonna be sitting there.
Oh, nice.
We're gonna talk the whole time. We're gonna figure this out, and it's gonna be great. So she is great. Of course, I can't think of any other names right now. Cale Allister, I liked his Carnivores book. I thought that was great. American
He's
Psycho is
watching
one of
you
my.
right now.
It was. I love American Psycho, and I was getting vibes right off the bat. The book, not the movie, but also a little bit of both. But it was very like in that vein of
And
just
chapter
like
11, man, it starts to go fucking hard, and it's great.
that was the gala, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yep, that was. I mean, I'm sitting there trying to like whenever there's something that I know is extra fucked up, I have to read it out loud.
Yep.
Just so my fiance can hear, and it'll just look at me like, and this is what you enjoy reading.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, basically. But yeah, he did a great job of like, again, where I laughed at a bunch of things that I shouldn't have laughed at. But also there's really gross, nasty stuff. So if you can do that, I think you're doing a great job.
Hi, Erica.
Brandon's book, White Bishop, that was great.
That was great.
I mean, like really, like I need that made into a movie.
Yeah, right.
Because it has to be way better than that other one.
It was so much better than Last Voyage of the Demeter, and I told him that. Like, I would much rather have seen that in a movie than what we got with Last Voyage of the Demeter.
There's so much. Any movie now that is like older than like 2000, I automatically, if I watch it and it's bad, I really feel like I wasted like 2 hours of my life. But for some reason, I could watch a really bad 70s one, and at least it feels like I watched one today called like Satan's Blood, and it was so bad but so good that like even if it was bad, I would still be like, it was worth it for that. I don't want those 2 hours back. But if it's something like Tarot, like I want my hour and a half back.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've
it
heard
wasn't
bad
great.
things about that. I saw somebody say that it was a funny movie but it wasn't trying to be funny. If it would have tried to be a funny movie, it would have been better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they did some interesting things with Tarot, but for the most part, it was a PG-13 horror film. There's nothing groundbreaking. There's nothing fantastic. Some of the CGI creature designs are okay, but it's just there was nothing really defining about it. Like you could swap it out for any
you
other
could
horror
see that
movie.
in the trailer, and
Yeah.
I was just also like, okay, of course, let's make tarot cards evil, and I have like tarot cards in my house, and
me
I
too.
like things like that. So I'm like, of course, let's make it, let's demonize it, let's make it dark and scary, and also CGI creatures, they never look well to me, ever.
Like they tried to be like 13 Ghosts and like Final Destination kind of put together, but then they tried to do the Zodiac too, which immediately I was angry because of course they made the Pisces like, oh, a fish, how original. Like just I wanted my money back.
I will say though about Tarot, it's not about the cards being evil. It's the person who owned the cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is that.
The talk to me hand was like the hand of what was it? Wasn't it like a
some sort of convict.
Psychic
Yeah, whatever.
person or something.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. The person that owned the cards put the curse on the cards. It wasn't about the cards just being evil.
Okay. They became evil after the curse.
Right. Good night,
I have
Dom.
to
Thanks
watch
for
Talk to
hanging
Me
out.
again. Yeah, I watched Talk to Me with a very angry person in the background cussing at it the whole time. So of course I have to watch it all over again. This is someone that I share a bed with cussing the whole time. So I would like, well, let me watch it again without maybe the peanut gallery.
Do all of
I
your
liked
partners
it.
like horror movies?
Not at all, actually. They kind of have to, like, basically, if you have to put up with a lot with me. So there's gonna be, you're gonna walk in, there's gonna be none Bush on the screen, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be, yeah, yeah, no, not really. He puts up with a lot, but for the most part, yeah, not really.
You know, my husband's not a horror fan. He deals with certain things because of me, but there's certain like he won't watch like Terrifiers or anything like super
Yep.
super. He likes horror comedies, like 80 horror comedies, but other than
Ray
that,
won't watch the super gory stuff with me either. So
Yeah,
like
so-
I watched Real today and he just went to bed twice.
I
Like,
still
no,
need, I still
we're
need to
not
watch
watching
that.
this.
I don't even what is it?
It's called Real.
I have the link still, but I have to watch it.
You do. So it's about a person that wants to make snuff films, essentially. And the first, let me just say this because I watched the second one today. The first one it can get pretty boring, but then the last 20 minutes will just fuck you up. Real 2, it starts off with a bang and it continues, and then it sort of gets a little boring towards the middle, and then it goes so hard at the end. So just expect
I can
that.
get behind that. That sounds good. I have to get on there. That was the one. They're both on that. You can only watch it online, right?
Yes, that is correct. You have to go to realstore.net. The first one is free, and then you have to pay for the others. 3 is in production now. Okay, sorry, I have to pull up my list again.
It's fine.
Here we go.
It's all Rebecca's fault.
What is your most hated horror film, JJ?
Okay, I'm ready for that one.
Suspiria.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna become a positive person and say how much I love Suspiria and how much I love the second one. But this is also
there is no second one. It's just a remake.
Yeah, okay. But I liked how they brought more of the when they go in the basement, like how they brought all that. But let me just say, to save Suspiria, we can obviously tell I'm a little bit neurodivergent. And so if I see bright, shiny colors, my brain's like, oh, like this is amazing. So I guarantee that probably just half of the giallos and stuff that I like is just because they're very bright and colorful, and I'm an artistic person. I like to draw and all that. So that probably biases me a little bit.
So I have a movie for you based on what you just said.
What's that?
And based on the other topic you asked to talk about, which was mental health advocacy. Bad Girl Boogie.
Bad Girl Boogie. I don't get to see that one.
It treats mental illness visually on film in a way I've never seen before, and it was beautiful.
Okay.
And a lot of it, so I don't know. I mean, it's more PTSD than mental illness, but I put them all in the same category for me anyway, because I don't have an experience with either one. But it's probably the most beautiful representation of dealing with trauma that I've seen especially in an independent film.
Okay, I wrote that down, and when we get to that, I will bring it back up. But just to get back on topic, worst movie was that Stephen King Dreamcatcher. Yep.
I love the shit weasels. I don't care what you say. I love the shit weasels.
And that was in the time where the CGI was worse than it is now. So the shit weasels or whatever. That was the first. We'll say I'm not cheap because I buy like way too many backpacks that I need like multiple totes for that cost way too much money. But I almost walked out of that movie theater if I hadn't paid money for it. Like that's how bad it was. And I'm the type where I'll put up with a lot, but
Okay.
that one was so just. And then the Wahlberg in it, it was just
I forgot
just
about that movie. Like
yeah, it
until
was
you just said it. I've never finished it, but you just like memory unlocked. I was like, oh fuck, that was a movie. Never finished it.
wasn't great. So
Hmm.
and wait, so Jim, you like that one?
I did. I thought it was fun.
I mean,
And it's
so
mostly
is
so
that
I'm going to be perfectly honest, right? There's a neurodivergent character in that film in the book because I love the book. The book's amazing. And there's a character named Duddits in the book that I absolutely adored. And I had so much fun with his character on screen. And that's probably why I enjoyed the movie so much is because of the how well I thought they treated his character in the film.
okay? That makes sense. See, and I think probably if I read half of these books, I probably have a little bit more background with it, but I just can't do Stephen King.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. What about you,
So
Eric?
that's my one.
Most hated movie? I
Uh-huh.
actually, only thing that ever comes to mind when this is asked, because like I said earlier, there's a lot that I'm like, I can find like something about it that I can appreciate. And this movie, I just can't. And it's Skinamarink.
So I
Oh,
will tell you the
we're
only
going
thing
there.
I will tell you
I can't do it. I fell asleep twice. I had to start it over. It's just, it's not.
I got through 7.5 minutes of that film before I shut it off.
Okay.
But let me just
I'm
tell
ready.
you, the thing that I love about Skinamarink is the actress who played the mother. She's
Were there
fucking
characters in the
amazing.
movie?
Yes.
I don't
Follow-
remember saying.
She follows me on TikTok. Her name is Jamie. And she
Okay.
is probably one of the nicest people, and she engages with people that either love or hate it with the same respect. She loves everybody. And I love that about her.
Yeah. I mean, because it was an experimental kind of horror film, right? Because
Yes.
it's supposed to be like a childlike nightmare. Like I said, there are people that love it. That one, I can't, nothing about it I was not the target audience for that.
So Emmy Smith said that is 2 hours of a goddamn poorly lit hallway, and I was pissed.
No. Okay. So this is where I have to tap in because I am ready. My soapbox is ready to go. So I am a latchkey kid. I was literally raised by two parents that are always working. So I think that, and it kind of touches with the whole kind of, I think that where you're not your trauma, but it's going to affect how you look at everything. So and I was an anxious little kid. I'm an anxious grown up. So the ongoing joke is that I'm preparing for the killer. So like every exit, every window in my house has some kind of weapon by it because I'm waiting for the killer because you never know. And that's kind of growing up being a latchkey kid. So watching that movie,
It's not though.
but watching that movie for me, it felt like everything that you as a little kid would be worried about. Being home alone, being like, it's just you and your sibling, because it was me and my little brother. So if we ever heard a noise, it would immediately like we had to go hide because something's out there. And so like that's kind of what the whole movie felt like to me, where it kind of brought me back to and I think like if somebody was, and also like if you lived in the city, that would be, you're never far because there's somebody in the next apartment. If I was raised in the suburbs, so nobody can hear you scream like that type. I think
I was raised in an urban city in like a semi-attached row home. So
there were like two houses on my street.
Yeah. So I think that has to do with it. And I can completely get why somebody would not like it, but just for me, it hit all the right parts. I love the whispering thing, because if I'm in the dark and I hear somebody whispering, I'm gonna scream like a little girl.
So
and like legit.
Maybe that's it. And I think that you might have just hit the nail on the head, right? Because my older sister, she's 11 months older than I am, had the same fear. Like she would have nightmares about people whispering to her or calling her name when nobody else was home.
Yep.
Like, isn't that like it's a thing, right? When they say they hear the people calling you, don't answer. What is that called?
I don't know. But I used to like torment her because I would hide. We had this crawl space between our rooms.
terrible.
So I would go
person.
behind there and whisper her name
Terrible.
while she was sleeping.
My mom would
okay,
do that to us. My mom would like
Yeah,
hide
right?
in the house and call our names.
My mom used to. My mom used to put on seances for us and like have people behind the dresser scratching.
Oh yeah,
or
we
have
would do
somebody
like the
outside
Ouija
the
board and
window
she'd be knocking. Yeah.
Yes,
Terrible parents. Love her. Love her mom.
I know, right? It's great.
And see, then my mother was the complete opposite. And again, look what happened. So it kind of shows.
No,
but
but
I mean,
also Skinamarink for me, I think I'm just like I said before, I'm always really busy and there wasn't a lot happening, and so I'm falling
Right.
asleep. I'm just down.
Agreed.
I need stuff going on.
It got me, but like I said, I'm a sensitive little Pisces. So Then
Rebecca
it's gonna
says
get-
she grew up in Mexico with the cartels, and her logic was, "Let me just make friends with them, and they won't kill me."
I mean, it's like getting the largest person in prison to be your friend, right? You
Pretty
just-
much.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. That's a story for another time. We'll talk about that offline.
I was gonna say, please don't get her started on her trauma because that'll be the rest of the show.
Well, she said, "Sis, that's schizophrenia." When you were talking about always having a weapon.
I mean,
and
I have a weapon and I always look for my exits and I'm always in survival mode. Like I need to know how to maneuver around my house and the pitch black and like all that stuff too. Like
I don't have that issue. I know how to maneuver around my house in the pitch black. I already know this because I rearrange the furniture so that I can without hurting myself.
See?
Mhm. I think it's very funny that she is trying to analyze anybody. But the calls are coming from inside the house, beloved.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, we're not talking about my jail story. Not right now.
Next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
And if you've ever listened to the podcast, you've already heard it, so that's okay. But anyway, so mental health advocacy, JJ, you wanted to talk about that. So tell me, what do you want to talk about?
So there's this friend of mine, we'll call her Shebecca, who is absolutely batshit insane. And no, we're not allowed to. I am a psychology undergrad, so we're not allowed to say the C word, which is crazy, not the other C word. But yeah. But like, okay, so one thing that in Gig of the Damned, so my main character has PTSD.
Yes.
And it actually played a big part in a lot of it.
Mhm.
And I also have PTSD, would be considered CPTSD. And so does Rebecca, that's also runs the family. But I think that kind of, when you think of PTSD, you think of, shell shock, you think of kind of like and I think the more that we kind of normalize that neurodivergent is normal, so then technically it's not neurodivergent anymore. But that's literally, I've gotten in full debates with my professors about this, just where it's like everyone has their own little quirks. Like your grandfather who had like stamp collections and had the same lunch every day for 30 years, those are kind of signs of autism spectrum. But because no one kind of talked about it and they just kind of got swept under the rug, it just becomes, oh, they're so different than us. So I think, again, just putting it in a story, putting it in a movie, it's to the point where, like, yes, you have this. My friend Shebecca has like 60 different mental illnesses, but those could be considered quirks about her.
Would you call her a traumatized autistic?
I would call her.
I mean, she said you called her that.
I never said, and well, maybe I did, but depends on. I don't understand how she somehow has become part of this show when it's just. I shouldn't have told her. Thanks for the support, sis, but you can go freshen up your drink or something.
I'm good.
But she, no, it's just I'm just trying to normalize people being themselves and kind of like, yep, if you have depression,
yes,
there's things that you could work on to get yourself better. But also that's kind of part of how you are. There's no magic pill that's going to make it go away. If you take an antidepressant, it'll, your chemicals it'll help fix it. But again, that's kind of why I wanted it in the story, where it's just, yep, he was dealing with it and I'm dealing with it. I'm dealing with obviously attention issues and everything else, but it's just, yeah.
I hate to say this, but
No, you don't.
I'm gonna really date myself, and I'm gonna sound like my fucking grandfather the way I'm gonna say this. But when I was a kid, we didn't have unless there was an obvious either mental or physical deficiency, there was not really any tolerance for neurodivergence. They just sort of beat it out of you, right?
Mhm.
You got spanked, you got yelled at, you got punished until you behaved right. So I think in that respect, I try to be better than my parents and their parents, but I still find myself going, you should already know better. Like, I don't care. Like, even with my niece or whatever, I will be like, you know what, you're 30 years old. It's time for you to not blame something else. And you already know how you're supposed to act. And I
Well,
feel terrible thinking like that.
but you
But
were kind of involved in that, and I think like we were back to like your parents and their parents, and I think because that back then people were having kids because they thought they were supposed to, and they were making mini thems, so they
right,
want you to be them and behave like them, and you charting your own path, even as a child, was not acceptable.
right.
Yep.
And I mean, the other thing is when we grew up, we were outside alone for 6 to 8 hours a day.
You could be an
Right,
adult then, but not in the house.
right,
You're allowed.
exactly.
You're old enough to be outside alone forever,
Right.
but in the house, you know nothing.
Right, exactly. And I mean, that just, so I think that informs a lot of why I identify more now with the slasher rather than the victims in the movies I like.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
see, I think that you're not wrong, but I think that kind of this generation is 20 years ago, if you were to say, like, I want to go get assessed for depression, um, 20 years ago, if they said yes, you have depression, you would be like, oh my gosh, like that's terrible. If you get diagnosed now, it's like, yay, I have an excuse to be this way now. And it's kind of like, I mean, and I'm not trying to say it in a mean way, but it's just like my whole thing is I'm studying to be in psychology. So one of my main things, if I have to work with a client, would be, okay, so you have all this list that you have working against you. Now that we've diagnosed it, what are you going to do about it?
mhm.
Are
Exactly.
there's so much that you can, like, a lot of people I think just want that diagnosis so then they could say, that's why I'm this way, that's why I need to have my emotional support peacock with me on the plane.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like,
What?
yeah,
Wait a minute. What did you
I
just-
mean,
Because people want to be, like you said, they want an excuse to have that you don't have you the whole point of it is to get better, to manage it, to work
Right.
through it. And the younger generations, especially with like TikTok, and I'm probably showing my age a little bit too, is that everyone is starting to find like communities. So it's like depression community where it's a bunch of younger people just saying that this is what I think I have, and I write it on the internet, so I'm self-diagnosing, and now let's all join a club, and we all are self-diagnosing, but they're not self-treating either. They're just, this is just who I am.
and it's just kind of a way that they enable each other because it makes you say, oh, it's not my poor like life choices, it's because
No.
of this. It's like,
And-
yeah, no, though, you can't
Yeah.
do that.
And then they also project that out onto the people around them. Like, so, all right, I'm diagnosed with depression. So instead of me doing something to make my life easier, you're supposed to. I don't have to change at all. The world around me is supposed to change
Right.
because I was diagnosed.
And
And
that's
again, it's not being insensitive. It's just there's a lack of accountability and responsibility still.
and that's I think that's where my frustration goes, and that's why I feel like a grumpy old man screaming at the clouds, because I like a lot of times when this first started becoming prevalent and people started recognizing it, a lot of people just needed a name to help them figure out the first step to getting better or overcoming their challenges. But now it feels like it's an excuse for people to behave horribly.
Yes.
Or
They stop
allow
listening
their
after.
past or their past experiences to make them stagnant in their life and not advance anymore.
Yes.
And that's where I get frustrated.
It's a huge pet peeve of mine because I could write a book with what I've been through in my life, and you just, at some point, you can't blame what you've been through you at some point you got to start taking responsibility and changing your life for yourself. It's your life. You have to take accountability at some
Yep.
point.
Just because my mom and dad or your mom and dad suck doesn't mean you get to treat your kid like shit.
Or you get to hold on to that the rest of like it's the entire world's fault. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's just,
I get it.
as someone who has been through hell and back
Yes.
most of my life, more so than good times, I still think that I'm a decent person. You know what I mean? And I seek ways, like, not to throw too much personal out there, but I've also recently started therapy too, because I think you can always improve. And I said to my friend recently, as a thing, I was like, we have primary doctors for our physical bodies. We should have primary doctors for our mental health as well.
Yes.
So
I agree. And that's one of the stigmas that came out of my generation, right? Was you didn't do therapy. You just get over it. That's the way we were taught. And even when I had some issues with depression in my past, my mother would say, just get over it. You know,
just get over it. That's like the best line.
right. But now she's the first one to say, hey, you probably need to go talk to somebody. You need to figure this out and get better. So I appreciate that she's grown like that. I have not.
Yeah. And I think that
I've tried therapy before for me, and it doesn't work because I feel like I'm doing the poor, pitiful me thing, and that doesn't work for me. You know what I mean?
But I think
and I know that's my mindset, but I love the fact that people, especially somebody like my sister or my niece, they get a lot of value out of therapy, and I love that for them. It just doesn't work for me.
I think when it comes to like that, you have to. I mean, I don't think you're saying like "woe is me," you know, poor me and all that, but I just think that. But I mean, I totally get what you're saying. Where it is a generational thing, where it's just kind of like, yeah, it's what you don't really do that. We don't really do that, and I partially came up in that too. But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, but once I actually started like writing, for me became very therapeutic. Where it's like now my brain is so full of so many things. When I write, it's almost like I'm expressing the wound, all pushing all the gross pus out, which that's gross, but also that's what it feels like.
But I think that's the same release I get with extreme horror, right? Is I get to face some of the things that I went through, obviously at a more extreme level, right? Like I have not been in anywhere near the situations, but I get to face all of that and come to terms with, well, I'm not dead. At least I'm not dead, right? And I can move on from there. So that's why I really appreciate extreme horror, especially lately. And that's all thanks to Veronica and Karen, because they got me in. They recommended things, and they helped me ease into the more extreme stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at all those lists because I need to get into that in between my studies.
If I can make a recommendation, my favorite book is a book that came out in 1994. I just read it this year. It's called Exquisite Corpse by Poppy Z. Brite.
That was very good.
It's fucking beautiful. It is.
I just read that a couple months ago. It is very beautiful.
It is a beautiful book, and it is a lot more erotica than I normally would read, but it all flows so naturally.
Okay.
That it doesn't bother me at all. Like it didn't.
I read the 50 Shades. That's fine.
Oh, then you're fine. You're good.
I'm fine. They were the first books I read because I wasn't a reader as a kid. So like goosebumps.
So what was your first book that you can remember reading, JJ?
Like I kind of grew up on like the Fear Streets, but I tried to read like horror, and my mom was like, "Oh, well, then you should try Stephen King." So she bought me Carrie, and then after about a chapter, I'm like, "So what is menstrual blood?" And she snatched the book right out of my hand and said, "Nope, we'll get you Fear Street." And so I grew up. The Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which still fucked me up. The pictures alone.
Yeah, pictures are terrifying.
That was all BJ before Jim. Like I was too old to appreciate those.
What was your favorite Fear Street book?
Like I mean, I can still like somebody would always fall with the sickening crack. Like I can still like I'm thinking like the like the Christmas Evils. I think I like those. I like the theme. Yeah, there's so many. I get the urge to read them again, but then I look at my like 600 that I need to get through. But it opened me up to where I'm like, okay, so I'm a little bit too like mature for like Goosebumps, but I could do Fear Street. So yeah.
I just bought the Haunted Mask again at Goosebumps though because I lost all my stuff when I was a kid. So I seen it at a horror convention a few weeks ago for $5. So I was like, I'm buying that just to have in my cave of horrors.
I did the same
So
thing with the Chronicles of Narnia. I bought the entire book series 3 times because I keep giving it away to my nephews and nieces, and they don't read them. And then
So
I
take
want
it
another
back.
copy for myself.
yeah,
I can't because they usually get destroyed by a dog or something. So
Oh,
yeah.
what about you, Jim?
my first book, the first book I ever remember. So this goes back to little Jim, little Jim. I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and we went to visit my great grandparents in Maine, and we always slept in the attic, right? Because they had 2 rooms in the attic, and I always slept at one side. And my great grandmother always had giant stacks of books. She's like, "Oh yeah, if you're gonna go to bed, just pick a book you want to read." First book I picked up was Jaws,
Oh,
Okay.
and I fucking loved it.
I wish I would have read that. I own that, but I haven't read it yet.
It's
Mm.
great. It really gives a different dynamic to the personal relationships. 100%. Like Ellen Brody is not just a wasted character like she was in the film. There's an actual point to her being in the story.
I love
I
Ellen.
have to read that.
Yeah, I do too. They're asking about Animorphs. I'm too old to know
Oh, Animorphs
Animorphs.
is from the 90s. Absolutely.
They're
I've-
saying that it was fucked and they were terrifying.
There wasn't really horror, but it was definitely I remember Animorphs. I wasn't really into
Well,
them, but it was
Emmy Smith said it awakened all the furries.
probably it's like a big thing going on with furries or something. And I was serving at a restaurant for extra money like a year ago, and there were like high school kids there, and they were talking about how they're all these furries in high school now, like walking around with tails and ears and all this stuff. I don't know. It's
I was
I'm trying to hide
shocked
my
when I
face.
realized what you
I-
like
it's
on the
too
end of
late.
those tails.
I miss when we had shame. Like I miss when like
yeah.
I miss when we had like relationships with the Lord and when I
Hmm.
not really, but just
Says the
I
man
mean,
writing non-lesbian porn. Mhm.
Maybe you can write an Animorph furry horror novel.
I think that you know what, there's actually a very good I think it's called Plush. It's a horror comic and it's great. It's a bunch of furries in fursuits that are going after and like killing people. It was great.
Oh,
That sounds like
Um,
fun.
Yeah, it was. And then the same author, he did one called Plastic, which is all about this dude who goes after these mobsters that killed his blow up doll. And it's
is it
all
considered
just
being killed or is it destroyed because it's not really alive?
popped, but in his head. And then it was great because like he would like put like plastic bags over their heads and like cut off their heads and put like potty mouth like he
Hey.
wrote on a thing. So
Gail said your
Yeah.
next book is going to be about furry lesbian nuns.
I mean, you know what? If I got to go another direction, yeah, it would have to be some kind of. I can't do furries because I'm not looking that up. The amount of things I have to research, like I have to research, like
I can give
Then
you
you draw the
three
line at
accounts I
furries.
follow. I'm not going to lie.
I just the wet fur, just oh, okay, no,
I do.
Yeah, no,
I
I don't.
do. I would love a kink-based horror though.
yeah. I
Like,
mean,
if
that
you
would
could just do a bunch of different death scenes all based in different kinks, that would be amazing.
yeah.
Like the
I mean,
seven
that
deadly
sounds like-
kinks.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I mean, that's not a bad idea, actually.
All right, so we're gonna
Lizard meat
reconvene.
timbers.
We're each gonna come up with our own. We got this.
Yep.
We do. We got this. And then there, Emmy Smith says, and then there for none. I'm sorry it took me
All
so
right.
long to read that correctly.
I got it.
That's okay. There's a nun movie I just looked up today called like None of That, N-U-N. I'm like, okay, so I mean, I love a play on words. No, actually, big nude nuns with big guns. I watched that
Oh.
like last week.
That's definitely a porno,
was-
Yeah.
No, it actually well,
right?
there's just so much.
It's a Skinamax After Dark film. We don't know.
Do they still happen?
I don't know. I haven't watched Cinemax in forever. I don't think
I
so
would
since they went streaming only though.
Well,
I wouldn't
You
imagine.
never know.
You never
No,
know.
I would think.
No.
Yeah.
All or
Yeah,
none
that-
thing.
All right, let's stop while we're ahead now.
Okay, so most hated horror films. I am going to go with anything starring Jennifer Carpenter
Isn't she from The
or Sherry
Exorcism of
Moon
Emily
Zombie.
Rose?
Yes, she is.
You don't like her?
I cannot stand to see her face on
Wait,
screen.
Jennifer Carpenter. What else was she in?
She's in a few
Dexter.
things. I didn't watch Dexter.
She was also in Wreck or Quarantine. Excuse me. Quarantine was the American.
Oh, she
version.
was. I have that
Oh,
movie.
I
Tina
hate
the
her.
Talking
She screams
Tummy.
and says "fuck," and that's all she does.
Really?
Is
Yes.
that Tina the Talking Tummy? What is it?
What?
Tina the Talking Tummy from White Chicks? See, I'm terrible when it comes to
I'm pretty good.
I don't know
and
what you're saying right now.
Tina
was
the
the-
Talking Tummy from White Chicks.
she was the main girl.
KL says yes, that was Tina.
Okay, so then yes, I'm not crazy. She said this is
No, I just don't know what that
Tina
means.
the Talking Tummy. I remember the dumbest shit from every other movie. That's why.
So you don't like Jennifer
Okay,
Carpenter, but Sherry Moon Zombie, really?
Fucking hate her. I loved House of a Thousand Corpses, but she ruins every other Rob Zombie movie she touches.
Really, you didn't like her as Lily Munster?
I walked out of my house because my husband was watching that movie. I went, oh fuck no, and I went and turned around and I went and got food.
Oh, the histrionics.
I didn't. I do think that she was not needed in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I understand why he put her in the first one, but then it just ran with it with the woman in white and everything. I was like, huh.
I tried to give her a chance in Lords of Salem because it looked like something different.
Mm.
And it was just as abysmal as I was afraid it was going to be.
I don't remember her in any of these movies, so that just shows that
She's
It's
the
Rob
main
Zombie's
character in all
wife.
of his movies. She's
Yeah.
going to be the shark if he redoes Jaws.
Oh,
She's in everything he does as the main.
okay. Now I get it. Yeah, I don't really see where like the talent, like kind of get the whole
It's just
Helena
because
Bonham
she's
Carter
skipping the
being thrown and
director.
everying. Yeah, like that. Yeah, at least.
But it's a
Helena
little
Bonham
different though,
does something.
because when you have Mike Flanagan, and I can't think of his wife's name, it's very
can't
different
either.
though. I love her. And
She's
she's
got
in a lot of
talent,
his stuff,
though.
but she is very great. I love her too.
I,
It's-
however, have a complaint because I want to see her outside of his work. Like
But
I
she
think
does so
she's-
well with it. But he's also awesome too. So it's
Yeah,
not
he
like he's
is.
doing bad shit. So
That's true. And that's so like I still don't like the fact that she's only ever in his stuff.
yeah.
I want to see her in other things because I think she has the talent to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I can't think of her name. And
Emmy
it's
Smith, do not talk bad about
Katie
Oh,
Siegel or-
no,
Katie
yeah,
Siegel
her
or
name's
something.
Kate Siegel. Sorry,
Kate Siegel, yeah.
Kate Siegel. I thought he was talking bad about Peggy from Married with Children.
Oh yeah, no, I say her name. It's they're so similar.
They are, but the last name is spelled differently.
Yeah.
I do. I want to see her in something outside of one of his vehicles, but I think she's insanely talented.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Eric? Is there a horror film? that you-
Just the Skinamarink I could think of, and then I just have a few other like any horror movie that is trying to be super serious and the actors are just really bad. I think if you're gonna make a movie and you're a director, and I'm not a director, but I'm a critic, I guess. I'm a viewer.
Yeah.
I think you can tell that your talent is just not up to par.
Yes.
Maybe just lean in the comedy of that instead of
Mhm.
making it
Yeah.
try to be super serious, because it
Absolutely.
just ruins it.
Yep.
So the only thing that I can think of, like I'm bad at clocking bad acting, just because again I watched mostly 70s and 80s where it's kind of implied that it's supposed to be bad. But Nurse 3D, I loved that movie. The Nurse 3D, do you know
Nurse
movie I'm talking
3D.
about?
No.
Nurse 3D. I want to say it was like 2010, 2005. And it was great. It's about like a crazed nurse. And it's like it was almost like they tried to make it feel like the old, 70s, 80s. But the actress that they had that plays it, like she's amazing looking. Like she looks like a model porn star. But every time she talks, it's like you could see her slowly blinking and just, oh my God. Like that's just how she,
Mm.
and that was the only time I could think of her like being an actress took me out of the movie because it should have been great.
If you
But
want
it's
a
just,
recent film that gives you the 70s exploitation vibe, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or any of that, I cannot recommend this enough. Eight Eyes.
What is it?
That's
Eight Eyes.
8 Eyes. That's on my list too. I'm pretty
It's
sure.
fantastic. We talked to the entire cast on a previous episode, and they're fucking
Oh
amazing.
yeah,
But the movie's great. Like
that's on.
you get a smart character in the lead actress, and then just terrible people all around otherwise. But it's done so well and with such care that it landed so perfectly. It was great.
Well, sometimes you only need a couple good people in the movie.
Yeah.
I have an episode coming out on Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. It's my favorite. It's my favorite one, unapologetically. But like, if Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger weren't
Oh
in
yeah,
it,
that one. Yeah,
they stole the show. They were phenomenal even then. But like
Mhm.
everyone else in that was just fucking really bad.
Yeah.
But my other I guess gripe with any horror movie that I just can't get down with is when a franchise doesn't know what else to do, so they go to space.
I loved Leprechaun in Space, and I love Jason X.
Jason X was the robot android lady was
Hysterical. But did you get the subtext with that though? So there's some subtext that most people don't get with Jason
I just
X.
watched it again recently because I did a whole rewatch of this series again because I plan on doing a YouTube review ranking.
Right.
I can appreciate it more now that I've opened my eyes more, but like most of the time it's just why are we in space?
So with Jason X, right? Lexa Dogue, who plays the scientist that captures Jason, and the android were on a show in the 90s called Andromeda. And their roles were reversed. The girl who plays the android in Jason X was the ship's pilot, and the doctor was the ship's AI.
Oh, see, we love an Easter egg. So
we
if
do,
I would have known
I got the biggest kick out of just that role reversal because I loved that show. And it was genius to me. Like I loved that part of it, and I expected it to be utterly ridiculous, and it was. Like the scene where she twists her professor's nipples with the barbecue tongs. It was so funny.
I didn't realize that the main girl from Jason X until watching it again recently was in the Chucky series. She was
See, now I have to go look at that too.
I didn't know that Lexa Dogue was in the
I don't know. The one that was frozen with him.
Right, yeah, Lexa Dogue. I don't remember her being in Chucky.
So I think it was season 1. She was the mom that got thrown out the window onto the car.
Oh, in the series.
Yeah, the series.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, I might have missed that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that until I was watching that again, though. But yeah,
Rebecca, I did not stop checking in on you. I just got carried away.
Oh, Lord, has she latched onto you now too? She does that.
I don't think so because she doesn't follow me yet. So I think we're
give
good.
it time.
Okay, so you have one more subject on your list that you want to talk about. Do you remember what it is?
No.
Horror, manga, and anime.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. Okay. So well then yeah, the plush one I mentioned, and the plastic one. Like there's so many. I really fell off, but like I legit have to make time because I have homework, plus I'm supposed to be writing, and now I'm drawing and all this other shit. But manga was really like there was like a Resident Evil manga that was very hard to find that I had to like go through. So it was really good, and like I need to make them. It had nuns in it, and it. And
what is up with you and nuns?
Nuns in Resident Evil? What?
So okay, so let's just get out the way. Sister Philothea was my that literally means God lover. She was like my main nemesis in high school, and she would like hunt me down. And so I would purposely do things to fuck with her. And I stuck safety pins in my face one day in class just to see her reaction. And yeah, again, that says more about me than anything, but don't like nuns. But this one had evil nuns, Japanese schoolgirls. It was great. It was called like Harasawa something, but it was great. It was like 6 mangas, and they need to make it into a movie, and it would be great. And I'm a big lover of the library. If there's anything you're looking for, you can go on like probably your library's website and you could search, and they'll have it shipped in from other libraries. So I've read some like really hard to find stuff, and I was able to find all of them because
we have a burning question from the peanut gallery. Are you ready, JJ?
As I'll ever be.
Would you go straight for a hot nun?
No, because she would. That sounds slut shaming. I mean, I'll do it for research. I'll say that. In the name of research. In the name of research, I went into like a Subway. I was like, can I see that meat slicer? Like, how thick can I make that? Like, I literally asked,
A 12.
like, can I? Yep. So I can see how far. I'm like, yep, that'll take off about a nose, and then the next one will take off about a cheek, and then land on the cheekbone. So I wanted to, yeah. And like when I went to for Amanda Scroommy's death, I was getting my like oil changed. I'm like, can I take a look around like back there? I need to see like what the back of like a car, like auto body shop is. And they're like, oh, you want to like see like the equipment? I'm like, oh no, I'm writing a book and I have to kill somebody like in an auto body shop, and I just kind of want to see what kind of weapons you have. And they looked at me like, let me ask my manager, and they let me go back there. So I went and walked around, and I had so many death ideas for that, and it didn't go out that way. But yeah, so the answer is yes, I'll do it for research. So yeah.
So would you go, Emmy Smith? I don't understand this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. Would you go straight for Sister Jude?
She's from American
Sister-
Horror Story, right?
Oh, right.
Oh,
Season 2?
which one was Sister Jude?
She was
the
she was
blonde one?
yeah,
Lily Raby or whatever her name.
no, the other one. What the fuck is her name?
Jessica Lange?
Jessica Lange, yeah. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I would do it just so I could be like, yeah, Jessica Lange, hit that, but not.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, it's almost like you get like a mouthful of dust.
I mean, dang it, I'm supposed to be working on not showing my faces. Okay.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
It just
good
gets worse
Yeah,
as you get older.
It does.
And so that's
I
all
mean,
you have left. You don't even
You're
have to speak
histrionic.
anymore.
You're making it all about you.
I mean,
this is Rebecca, not me, just so you know.
Oh, she's projecting again. Bless her heart.
But Emmy Smith said Mary Eunice could get it, and I agree. Lily Raby is beautiful.
She was also
Absolutely
possessed by
Well,
the
the funny-
devil.
Yeah, but that just makes
that
it
just
hotter
adds
because then
to
you
it.
get 2 for 1.
Then
I mean, she could actually go to pegging. You never know.
So I have to write like I have an older nun that I kind of want to work in just so I could be like, yep, she got to. So I was told that women don't say bust a nut, but I kind of wrote it in there because I thought it was funny. But
So-
I think I'm gonna let the older lady bust it out. Why not?
We talked about K.L. Alistair's books earlier, right?
Mhm.
You have got to read Last Call.
I was gonna say
It's
all
a
of those are on my
novelette.
list.
Like it's short. It's a quick read, but there's a scene with a glass that I think you're going to really appreciate.
Okay. I mean, there's the
It may give you some
the thing that-
inspiration.
I mean, like I really do like honestly, when I wrote, I came up with their names first, and then I was like, well, I need them to die related to their names. So Amanda Scroomy had to be something tool related. Dinah Fire obviously had Dinah Fire. And sheer
Brandon says they
audacity.
say bust a nun.
Busted on. That's you know what? I deserve that one. So, but like, yeah, I needed I really do want as many I came up with the death scenes first, and then I wrote the story in, and then I wrote the big story. So that's kind of what I want to do. when it
And
comes to
Emmy
that.
Smith says you're going to kill us all in your next book.
I've actually been pretty so Sarah DeRosa's made it in Sesame Timbers. Rebecca regretfully did, just blowing her head up even more. Our friend Emily, from Switzerland, she's in Switzerland. Sorry if it's not. Yeah, I've thrown a bunch of people in. I have to throw Jim in somewhere, but there's no guys in this one, and I don't think there's a Jim in the Bible. So, yeah,
There's
I'll put you on my next one.
Yes, there is.
Oh yeah.
I don't know
Well,
what's
then
in the Bible.
there is a James, but he dies early. But yeah, I'll put you in. I'll make you like one of the weird dudes in like the club in Twink Death that tries to hit on him. Yeah, and you're gonna have
perfect.
you're gonna have a pocket full of change. Like, hey, you got a cell phone bill you need me to pay or what?
Listen, anytime somebody puts me in a book, especially if there's a gruesome death involved, I feel so honored.
I definitely have to make a list, but you will definitely.
I get to die in 4 books this year.
Are you
I'm
kidding?
so
I want to
excited.
die in some books.
Oh,
Yeah.
Eric, I will hook you up. Don't worry. I got friends. We can make this happen.
But yeah, just to finish the manga, I think this that Junji Ito's great. We're
Too.
finally getting Uzumaki. Like we've been waiting for like feels like 2 years for that. Um I can't wait for that to come out. Chainsaw Man was amazing,
Mhm.
and the anime was great. I heard that there's not supposed to be a season 2, but they better because I will fight somebody if they don't. But yeah, there's a lot of good horror comics and horror manga out there that like if you like pictures in your books, it's kind of perfect. So
Two,
I recommend it.
two of my favorites were Tokyo Ghoul,
Yep.
Blue Exorcist. I thought that was fun. I
Mm.
didn't like the continuation after. I don't remember what part ended in the book, but when they almost forgot that he was the son of the devil in the second part, like that sucked. But then there was a graphic novel by the same guy that did The Walking Dead called
Hmm.
Outcast, and it's fucking amazing. It's about a guy
I
that exercises demons.
Did they make a show of that?
They did, and it
I
was
think I saw
beautiful.
the
It
show.
was amazing. The show was awesome. I thought.
Yeah, there's one. It's called Lovesick, and it's just a
Nothing
it's
about the
on like
vampires.
no, it's about like a snuff room, like it's a woman dominatrix who's like works in this. It's probably the closest thing I've ever read to like splatterpunk as a graphic novel. Called
Okay.
Lovesick. It's on like Hoopla, like like the library app.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like I don't know why more people aren't talking about it because it's so like I'm I'm actually shocked it's on there because the things that are on there, it's I mean there's a decent amount of sex, but it's still just very visceral and very just gross, but in the best way where just that's the kind of stuff I like. So
Fair enough.
I think yeah.
What about you, Eric? Any experience with manga or any that you like?
So just very minimal. I have a friend who was getting in like into anime, so I was asking her for recommendations to like horror, and we
Mhm.
did an episode on my old podcast over a year ago, so I'm terrible with names, but she recommended a few things, but Junji Ito was one.
Yep.
So I was watching like the collection, some of his stuff, but there was one that I was watching and I actually really got into it, and maybe somebody will be able to tell me what the name is. I think the guy travels back time. I think his mother gets killed, and he's like able to like go back in time, but then he keeps changing things, so he has to keep going back.
Mm.
I could be explaining it wrong, but
Doesn't
that
sound
was
familiar to me, but I'm definitely not an expert. I've seen like three of them. So
yeah, that one. There was one I started that's was a devil one. I don't know. I think he was becoming like the devil or something. And then there was another one with a hand that was like possessed.
Like Parasite? Was that the
Parasite.
yeah,
I
Parasite
started
was
that.
good.
I started that.
I think they did a live action of that.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
Yeah, see, there's so many that's like I pretty much watched like Jujutsu Kaisen. That one came out. I like that one. That was like this guy eats like a old like mummified demon finger, and
Oh,
it put him like it's very it doesn't make any sense, but he for some reason he said he had to eat it, and so of course now it's like he's possessed, but
yeah.
so he can they turned into a whole thing. I started reading those, and then they made that an anime, and then yeah, there's one called like Kaiju number 8, which is just ridiculous, and they have to like the cleanup team after like Godzilla's and the big monsters show up, like they have to go, and it's ridiculous, but it's just yeah, there's just so many. I need to get back on it. I've kind of fallen off, but
Yeah, I was into it for a minute, and again, just life took me other places. So I would like to get back and start finishing them because they were really interesting and different than anything else, really.
the
and
net
sometimes books and pictures is great.
the Netflix Castlevania anime was really good.
I heard good things about that.
Gotta watch that one too.
It's beautiful. Like the animation style, like the whole thing, and the voice actors. It was just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
Okay, wait, what about Perfect Blue? Have you ever seen Perfect Blue?
Never heard of it.
Okay, so that's definitely one of my top ones, and that's like an anime movie, but it's from like the I want to say the late '80s, '90s, and it's almost like Black Swan,
Okay.
where it's a girl in like a girl group, and she has this stalker, and it's great, and it's the same way where it's beautiful, but it's just so fucked up, and I definitely that one's a real good one.
So there's
And
a
obviously
few,
Death Note. Everyone knows Death Note,
of
right?
course,
Yeah.
There's a few that were mentioned. Let's see. There was Tokyo Ghoul, Vampire Hunter D. Brandon says that he loves that one. Or no, he says Vampire Hunter D is with the hand.
Okay.
I don't know if we made a comment about that. And then there was another one that was mentioned that I missed. I thought I missed, but that's the only one I see.
So many. It's the names. I'm terrible with names and stuff. Like you can give me a bunch of
Me too.
recommendations. If you don't send me an email or a text after,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it isn't happening.
Yep, I agree. If I don't have it written down on a calendar, it's not happening for me.
Yeah, it's just
So, JJ, what else did you want to talk about? Because that ends your list.
I mean, I think I've talked enough about drag queens, just because like I'm trying my best to not be typecast, but I'm good at it. So I think it's just kind of one of those, like, I'm kind of padding time till I can get to part 2, because part 2, I was just going over, like, I was trying to talk out different, like there's gonna be a nun whose name is Trudy O Blessings. Trudy O Blessings. And so she's gonna be like Scottish or Irish with like a really deep accent, where like I want fourth wall breaks all throughout it. So like her accent is so thick you can't understand her. So the queens have to read her subtitles
Right.
to know what she's saying. Like I want lots of little, like, there were lots of fourth wall breaks in King of the Damned, and so I want there to be a lot more. But like there's gonna be like episodes, and then it's gonna be like, instead of like Untucked, it'll be called like Unfucked or whatever. So then they'll have like there'll be lots of little, I just have to be careful because I had 12 girls, and the way my brain works, I want to put like 20 in this one. But you also know, like, the opening has to be like the girls that got turned down, like, you know, in American Idol, how everyone loves to see like the blooper reels. Like I want them to see the girls that didn't make it on. But like the names I have like Puberty Pumper Snatch, like there's lots of, like, I think my main character might be Vagina Ladypuss. There's so many. They're like, there's like, I'll be doing my homework and a name will come to me and I'll have to write it down. So yeah, that's I have like so many plans, but I'm literally kind of, I think I'm filling in stories now just to give me time to get to part 2. But I love it so much.
Lightning question: what would you give Jim for a drag name?
Oh man. He's so picky, and I mean, it'd be really hard to, like, I had to do like a play on like pretentious, so like pretty, like PRETI. No, that's not gonna work. Yeah,
I had a friend give me a drag name when I was living in Connecticut. It was Eurobitch.
Oh,
I mean, well,
it fit, you know. I mean,
like, it would have to be
says
some...
Penny Dantic.
Yeah, that could definitely work. I just off the top of my head, I can't think of one. That's why
I can send you some pictures of me in drag if that would help inspire you.
I would definitely need a drag name that's horror related, but also if I do drag, I have to be like drop dead gorgeous. Like I have to be stunning and also gory. Like it's like no in between.
So he would be your new Hobie Have, is what he's asking for.
Yeah.
Yep. So what are you gonna give Eric there, JJ?
I mean, I would just, because now the pressure is on where it has to be something pretty, like
clever, not pretty.
Too.
Yeah.
I mean, the Porcelana is coming up. Porcelana, like, I have to just go with Porcelana del Commode for right now. But
okay.
we can, I mean, I wish it was a little bit more horror, but if you read the
good.
You Need a chapter, you'll get why Porcelana Commode where a toilet can be
Yeah,
quite frightening.
That toilet curb stomping was beautiful. That was my favorite scene.
So you know what the funny thing is I accidentally almost wrote like a collection where I gave you what a splatterpunk kind of sampler because you got to see like, look, I can write about feces and doo-doo and make fart jokes and all that. And so that was the You Needed chapter. And then you kind of got to see Extras chapter had like, you know, a Hollywood montage of like, you know, from the, you know, 50s, 60s. So,
Right.
you know, I was trying to give you like a little bit of everything. And then, you know, the twins were on TikTok live the whole time. So you got to see like people commenting as they're being killed.
Yes.
And kind of saying like, you know, like hit her again, Wendy. Like I needed stuff like that. And that was probably one of my favorite scenes just because it's like, I could see that happening where they'll be like, we can tell you're faking it. Like we can see the fake blood, but yeah, it wasn't. So yeah.
Yeah, like Scream 2 when they killed Jada Pinkett on the front of the screen.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Oh, why when her head hits, it's just like what now that's an actress right there.
Yeah.
I loved her in Demon Knight.
Love Demon Knight.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
About that.
So
Billy
we're
Zane,
at the
right?
part of the podcast where we would normally talk about movies or books that we've read or watched or video games that we've played, whether they're horror related or not. So JJ, we'll start with you.
The last video game I played was Cult of the Lamb. It was Nintendo Switch. It's like Animal. What's that? What's the Animal Crossing? But it's a cult. Like you're building a cult, so you have to like make a farm. And I got the lovely Rebecca to break from her psychosis and play for a little bit. But it's great because you have to like make like a farm. You have to get followers, and you have to like indoctrinate them. And then you have to, and if you get dissenters that are trying to like tell people that you're bad, you have to accidentally get rid of them. So you have to like kind of like poison them and then hide the bodies so they don't see you. Like,
is there berry
the
picking
Kool-Aid.
involved?
Yeah, it's
Did
all
Rebecca
that.
have problems with that?
Poor Rebecca, bless her heart. Just like she's like, why do my people keep dying? And I'm like, you know, you just press and hold the button, right? Like that was it. It was something nice and simple. Like it was, but it's great. It's almost like if you like Animal Crossing, it's a very cute kawaii type, but there's Satan worship and there's like you get weapons and you have to go out and fight, and then you get like the demon points, and it was very fun.
It sounds like
I recommend it.
You've read like 3,000 books. I keep seeing all of your reviews online.
I mean, like it really has been. I just finished Splatter Park, which is by Asher Dark and Carrietta.
Yep.
Dorsch. That was great. It was literally, I don't know about trailers. I try not to, but it was a great, like everything you think that would happen in like a trailer park.
What? Why not? Why no trailers?
Not trailer phobic, but I kind of am. Not. I mean, just you know what? I'll go with. I'm from the Midwest, so trailers. Yeah, tornadoes mean your house gonna fly away. But also, I don't. Yeah, no. I just did that. Damn it. It's like everything you would think of like a trailer park, but there's like individual stories of just what's going on in these trailers. Like there's little touches of True Blood because Asher is a fan of True Blood. There's little touches of Carrietta, love her to death. There's something really wrong with her brain because there was the story about like someone was doing a TikTok challenge where they were throwing up and then eating it again, not realizing that you're now eating your own stomach acid. So it's going to start eating away at you. It was very gross. That was great. It was called some kind of lollipop, Glock lollipop. It was like a Louisiana where there's like ghouls that are coming back. And yeah, it was just, all the stuff I read is just terrible. So it's like, even to describe it, it's horrible. And there's dang it, what was the last one? I'm about to start Living Dead Girl, And this book is so pretty. It has all green pages. I'm legit only reading it because it's got green pages, but it's gonna be great. It's supposed to be about like a girl who's in love with a boy even after he dies. So there's still there's gonna be necrophilia and all that in it. So I'm excited. I think that's my list.
Okay. Any good movies you've seen lately that aren't nun related?
I mean that demon one this morning was yeah. Hold on, I have my list. I saw Thriller. Have you ever? It's just called Thriller, and it's like this. Again, it's kind of a porno for half of it, but this girl, they like gouge out this girl's eye, and she goes and gets revenge, and she has this like big long ass like shotgun, and she just takes everybody out. It was probably like from the 70s, I think, but it was perfect exploitation, like everything that you would need from that. Death Race 2000
Ugh.
had okay, that was another one of those. It's so absurd that I just loved it. Didn't it have the guy that died in it? Didn't it star?
I've heard of the movie. I've never seen it.
It's one of those where it's so bad. It's almost like it's like a trauma almost.
I'm gonna give you a better version of Death Race 2000. Look up Blood Drive. It was a
Blood
TV
Drive.
series, and it's about cars that run on human blood.
Oh, that sounds
and
great,
they're going
actually.
to race these cars in order to save their lives.
It just sounds like Twisted Metal.
The guy who
I love Twisted Metal.
The guy who plays plays Reacher on Amazon Prime right now. I can't remember his name. The big blonde buff guy plays a cop in this film and one of the main characters. It's great.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up. My last one is the Raid. There's 1 and 2. I want to say it's like not. I don't think it's Korean. It's one of the, like, you know how they had the old school like kung fu movies.
Yes.
This would be like the splatterpunk version of a kung fu movie because it was the most like bloody. Like these fights are just, you could hear every crack, the way they did it was so well. And there's a 1 and 2. I recommend them both because they're just, it's like the bloodiest, most violent kung fu movies I think I've ever seen.
Yes, Zach, it's Alan Richardson. I could not remember his name. Thank you.
Okay, that's all
right. Emmy Smith said he just got the 4K, so no spoilers on Raid.
Okay, just you have to watch it. It's great.
What about you, Eric?
I think.
Yeah, so game wise, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, so it took me forever because I've been busy, but I finally completed the remake for Resident Evil 4.
Okay.
And then after that, I'm weird. So it's like horror for me, or it's like Super Mario, or movies are like horror, or like Disney. Like I don't have a lot of in between.
There's a lot of people like that.
I've been playing like the Mario games. I played Super Mario RPG and the new Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. So I'm on those two. I'm reading Stephen King's Holly, which I've been stuck on for a while because I really like the character of Holly Gibney from his Mr. Mercedes and The Outsider and that stuff. So that pretty good. And then movies, I just saw Alien Romulus in theaters, which I loved it. I thought it was really good. I didn't watch Aliens until about a year ago, and me and my husband just binged the entire series, and I just fell in love with it. And I think I just liked the way Romulus was. I liked the face grabbers were really like involved. Long legs I thought was good. Yes, I have it behind me. I have like the popcorn
I know. I saw
tins
your
and
videos.
stuff.
I know you got them both.
Yeah,
and I hate you for that. I couldn't get the tube one anywhere near me.
I didn't know it was released from Regal until that day, and I seen it on like so I'm in a Fangoria Facebook group chat and a couple other things that people were like posting. I'm not even lying. It's 9:30 at night. I just need to put it out there. I was like, I go to bed at 10 o'clock. I'm old. So my husband's like, I'm like, oh my God, it's out. And people were like, oh, they're going to be sold out. We got in our car and drove to Regal that was closing at 10 o'clock. It was like a 15-minute drive, and they had them. And we got 2 popcorn buckets. And then for AMC, Romulus came out on my birthday, which was the 15th of this month. So it was like a fan show thing, so we were able to get the bucket. But yeah, those are the movies I've been watching aside from the Cinema Society Saturday things, which
But
I
you'll be sad. We're
love.
sad that you're gonna take a pause. We're not saying you're leaving. You're taking a
Yeah,
pause.
taking a pause because I just I'm afraid to have another commitment with
Yeah,
school right now,
totally
and
get
I
it.
don't want to let other people down.
Yeah, I
But
totally get it.
the last movie that,
I might jump in then because I need to get involved. I don't know how I haven't. And again,
yeah,
I don't need any more commitments either, but it sounds fun for me
it's
to
so
not.
fun. And for me, I think what the hard part isn't the video, it's finding time to watch the movie.
Yeah,
That's
See, I
absolutely.
can
that's
do
my
that. So
that's my
sign
that's
me up,
my
Jim.
yeah. Take my
I'll
place.
take a spot. I'll
Yes.
take
There
a
you go.
spot.
But the movie Inside that was recommended to me from 2007, the French film.
Veronica gave him that movie.
Yes, that
Loved
movie.
Inside so much.
I
Like
wasn't
legit.
ready, I don't think.
I still
No,
say
too much.
that's one of the bloodiest movies I've ever seen that was not like it's warranted. Like where
Yeah.
it's not overdone, but it's like, how is there so much blood? And there's only like two people involved, but it's amazing.
It was really, yeah, it was a lot, and I'm trying to get more into international horror films, so I'm very Americanized, so
Mhm.
Oh my
watching
God.
these, it's very different for me.
I'm
Yep.
so bougie. All my Inside, Martyrs, Frontiers, like I was that guy where like high tension as much I know that Jim loves high tension. All the all those like I was that guy who was like, oh yeah,
What did
you
you
guys
just say
watching
to me?
American, how much you loved high tension.
Actually,
You thought it
so
was so original and never
high
done
tension,
before.
high tension is not a bad movie. It's well done, but it's a direct beat for beat ripoff of the book Intensity by Dean Koontz.
Just let him have it. Just let him. Yep.
Yep.
I'm offended by Dean Koontz's mustache from the 70s and 80s, so I haven't been able to read
Wait, he
anything of
hasn't
his.
had a
But
mustache in like 40 years.
all the books I have are the old ones, so all I see is that face staring at me, and it's just I can't take a man seriously with that mustache. So I can't do it.
Is it the porn
But yeah,
stash?
Yes, it's a big bushy porn stash.
Okay.
yeah.
And he looks
But yeah.
so creepy without it. And that toupee. Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah.
But that's
But yeah,
mine. They're mine.
There's lots of international horror that you definitely gotta get
I've
into.
also never met or not met. I haven't met him, but I've never read any other author that fucks up his own books when he writes screenplays like Dean Koontz does.
Hmm.
I don't think I've watched. I'm saving them to read. I haven't watched any of them because I want to read the book first. But then I also don't want to read the books, so it's
Phantoms,
just never
he
going to happen.
butchered. He absolutely destroyed most of the best characters in that film. The Servants of Twilight, the book is great. The movie's so boring. So boring. It just I can't watch movies he does a screenplay for, especially if they're based on his work.
I mean, homage because he's old, I guess, we have to do that, but it's just not for me. I can't do it.
Fair enough. Sorry, Eric, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
No, that
Sorry.
was saying that's my current thing that I'm trying to get through is I go through seasons, like I said before. So sometimes I'm playing games, sometimes I'm watching movies, sometimes
Yeah.
I'm reading. I tend to be that old man that as the weather gets colder, I get my like blanket and tea and like to read a book.
Yeah.
And movies are like always around, but like video games, it really depends on the time. But
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to. I did pre-order Silent Hill 2 remake for the PS5, and
Okay.
this new games that are coming out for it's called Retro Realms, and it's like an 8-bit game based on Halloween and Ash vs. Evil Dead, and it's very like Sega Genesis kind of gameplay. And so I pre-ordered that. They both come out in October, so I'm looking forward to those.
Nice.
Now I have to get those. Damn you.
Yeah,
I'm trying
you
to
do.
not, but those sound great. Like those right up my alley, so I have to get those now.
You definitely look up the Retro Realms. If you pre-order it, like it comes with like Laurie Strode and someone else, but it's if you watch the
What?
trailer, it reminds me of like literally like a side-scrolling uh Sega Genesis, like Contra kind of thing, but you are Michael Myers in that one, and the other one is your Ash with the chainsaw hand and stuff. So
That
Okay.
sounds great because they just made those like old the two games that like you had to be online for, which I'm not. I can't play a video game online because I'll fight with people just with words, and I can't do
well,
that. But I was
Dead by
so
Daylight
let
is
down.
amazing.
See,
Dead by
I
Daylight's
haven't
great.
played those because I don't, and I need to, but I also know just I'm too competitive.
Yeah.
Like
Well, you can't
Pokemon Go,
talk
I
to
literally
anyone.
almost. Oh, but that's good because Pokemon
There's
Go,
no
I've always got
in-game
almost on
chat.
fights with.
Yeah, like
Okay.
you can do like Discord chats. Like I do that. Like I don't have a lot of online friends, but like I'll play Dead by Daylight with like my niece and nephews who are like teenagers, and we like just have fun. Like I'm competitive, but to like it's fine. It's just great. They have a huge roster of both, survivors and killers that are original as well as like licensed ones. So you have like Michael and Leatherface and Pinhead. They have
You're
Chucky,
talking
and
me
then
into all these, and I have homework
yeah.
to do, and this is all your fault. I want to get my homework done because now I have to get all these games.
I was like,
And if my
I
book
just
isn't finished,
started
it's all
school,
Eric's
so
fault.
that's fine. I'm probably we can revisit this in another year, and I'll probably still be on the same chapter I'm in on my book because I'm just keep adding different shit. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want to do that. And by the way, my husband and I are also waiting to adopt a baby. So at some point, that is going to add to my.
I
So
feel a lot better about my plate then because I mean, yeah, you are loading that buffet plate up, up.
I don't know why. Why not?
God, you guys make me
Why
feel
not?
lazy. God. Okay. I guess I can
It's
talk
your
about
turn, Jim.
I guess I can talk about books. So first I'm gonna ask, have either one of you read Broth House by Robert Essig?
It's on my list.
No.
It doesn't need to be on your list. You need to read it. But
I
first
know.
I'd like to acknowledge that
Wait, what's it called?
Roland Versie Jr. just popped into the chat. So everybody say hi.
Hey, Roland.
Hi.
It's called Broth House by Robert Essig.
Oh.
It's about a chef that kills gay men, makes them into soup.
What?
Ooh.
Now I have to read that. Damn it.
I read Bathhouse.
That's not the same.
No,
I'm
but that
willing
was
to
about
bet
the
anyway.
it was about the guy that was in the bathhouse and following the guy and killing people, and
I think I'd
You
rather
know?
have the soup. I'd rather have the soup guy, I think.
Yeah,
It was-
there's the soup guy. So here I'm gonna show my age again, but so there I don't know if you guys ever watched Tales from the Dark Side way
I've
back
heard
in the
of it.
day, right?
I know of it.
Like Eric, you might have watched it in reruns, but there's a scene, there's an episode where this hitchhiker goes up to this elderly couple's house because her car breaks down, and they make her into soup. Like they get her wasted and put her into a hot tub and just like gradually cook her while they're telling her
Wow.
these stories about their kids. And then they open this cabinet and you see all these skulls with all the flesh
Wow.
gone, like they'd been boiled clean. This reminded me a lot of that. It had a lot of those vibes.
That sounds good. Have you ever read anything by Roland?
I wrote Dr. Parasite.
That was I was about to say James Plug is here, but Dr. Parasite is a horrible, great book. So
Yeah.
if you haven't read it, that's one.
Yeah.
And then he did my supernatural ex-girlfriend. That was the closest I think I've laughed at a book. Again, kind of that reminds me of my writing where it was like, yep, that's horrible. That's a lot of guts, but also I'm cracking up because that's
haven't read
hilarious.
that one yet.
So, yeah, I think
haven't
you
read
should
that
get
one
on
yet.
that.
So
I'll trade you Broth House for that one.
I just finished The Dead Children's Playground by James Cain. It's brand new. So he
The
read
werewolf guy.
Yes, My Pet Werewolf.
Okay,
And
that's
Gunther.
on my list too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this one is not like those books. This is more of a standard ghost story. It's a very well written ghost story about kids and all kinds of other things. There's some hoodoo in it, but weirdly enough, when I was reading it, I messaged him because I said, these people just moved from Rockledge, Florida, and he's like, yeah. I said, I work in Rockledge, Florida. He's like, oh, really? I said, yep. He's like, I just picked it because it's 20 minutes south of the Cape, and he's an astrophysicist or something. Like, yeah, but I work there, so if you ever need any research, you let me know. I drive through it every day. But anyway, so what I have to say about the Dead Children's Playground is it's a solid story. It's a good ghost story if you like ghost stories. But I don't care if you normally skip prologues or epilogues, you cannot skip them in this book.
I can't think of why you would want to do that.
Yeah.
The
Some
author's
people
putting
have
it
a
there
thing,
for a reason.
some people have a thing about it, but if you skip it, it's going to it literally the epilogue changes the story. 100%.
I was going to say, yeah, because disclaimer: if anyone skips my prologue, I will find out where you live because it's legit. Like, I mean, yeah, I never heard of that. Like,
No, I read
it's
every
there for a
page
reason.
of
There was a
everything.
whole
Yeah,
bunch
like-
of book talkers that went on about why they don't did videos with why they don't read prologues or epilogues. I'm like, but it continues or foreshadows the story. Why would you skip it? But
Yeah, like,
no shame. It is what it is. I just don't. I can't skip it. I have to read it. If it's
Well-
in a book, there's a reason it's in the book.
yeah, it's supposed to be there.
Bless those TikTokers' hearts.
So that's the end of my book journey. I am currently listening to Clown in a Cornfield 3, and this is probably my least favorite in the series so far.
I read the first one, and I
keep
first
hearing
two are
about
great.
branch
this.
out.
The first two are great, but I'm just not connecting with this. And actually, somebody asked about an Amish story. You might like this then because it's kind of Amish, but it's just I'm not connecting with it. But I watched a movie I want to talk about.
Okay.
I actually, other than The Beyond, which was another Fulci film that I'm just not a fan of.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. But I did watch The Sadness yesterday.
Oh,
Oh my God, that was good.
That was the brutal, bloody, gory, fun time I needed.
Mm-hmm.
that was my first international horror film.
That I'm actually kind of pissed at myself for putting it off for so long.
I was shocked at how where they went. Like there's
It's
just,
very sexual,
Yeah,
yeah.
like-
I mean, there's
like rapey.
yeah, it is very rapey.
Like
Like
this,
when they're bashing that guy against the the
tennis court or
basketball
something.
hoop,
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, like, that hurt. That hurt.
I always think of the guy in the hospital when he says he was gonna he's wanted to rape the eye hole or something. He did something to
Yeah.
her eye.
yeah. That was yeah.
It
You
is-
can't forget. That's one of those scenes you're not going to get out of your head. That,
Yep.
I mean, I like it, but at the same time, I don't like it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It was very, very, very intense, and I loved every minute of it because it's exactly what I need. Because I've been in a slump lately with movies.
Hmm.
I haven't seen a whole lot that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. That's
I mean,
all.
what about Long Legs? Just go see Long Legs, and it'll solve all your problems.
Somebody has offered to pay me to watch it on a live stream.
Why you don't want to see it?
I have no desire to see it at all.
Okay.
A
And
stubborn Gemini? That's unheard of.
But so here's the reason I don't want to see it. Right? It's because of all the hype.
Okay.
I completely
Because no
agree.
matter what I think of the film itself, based just on its own merits, I'm gonna hate it because of the hype.
Yeah.
Whether I
Mhm.
love it because it lives up to the hype, and then I'm just gonna hate it out of pure oh my god, what's the word I'm looking for?
Spite.
Geminism.
Spite. Yeah, Geminism, that works too.
Geminism.
Or I'm just gonna hate it because it doesn't live up to the hype.
I will say this. I was excited and I was a part of the hype because I didn't know about anything about it. Like the trailers to me didn't
Yep.
give a lot away.
Yeah,
And
and that was
I'm
fantastic.
I'm a person that I will watch trailers. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like I watch them. But Long Legs, I really enjoyed it because I really liked it gave me a lot of Silence of the Lambs kind of thing, but in a new way, I guess. I like a crime horror thriller movie too.
Yeah,
Like what's going on? The clock is ticking kind of thing.
right. And
That's what I
do-
liked about it.
I do also, but I don't know. I think now just because of spite, I'm gonna hate it regardless
Yeah.
because of all the hype.
Yep.
Aw, look
kitty.
at your pussy.
Hi, Puss. I knew you would go there.
Does your cat have a religious name?
No, it's Lucifer. So actually,
Kind
that
of.
would be a little bit. This is the cat that almost died when my mom stepped on him.
Oh,
Mm.
you mean she stomped? not stepfather.
I mean, she acted like a Leo around the cat, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're supposed to
Roland-
stick together.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I said too. Yeah,
My
But no,
cat's
for
name is
long-
Leo because he is a Leo.
So
well, that makes sense.
Emmy Smith has offered to pay me not to watch it.
Why? I
Rebecca
like
says that she thinks that people aren't liking it because they were expecting horror and it's a thriller.
Yeah.
Roland says Longlegs was a decent film, but it didn't live up to the hype. And Zach said that they basically ignored all of the hype for that reason.
Yeah.
I think a lot
Like,
of people won't watch. I think what I've come across on social media, not to cut anyone off, is when somebody has an expectation of what they define horror as. They don't
Yes.
have a broad enough. Horror is many, 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 many things.
Oh,
I
of
made a
course.
TikTok once where I added like the Buffy movie as one of my horror movies, and like that's not horror. I'm like, it's a horror
Yes, that
comedy.
is.
It is.
Like, yeah,
They,
that's,
they told me that vampires and werewolves were not horror.
That's where
I,
what?
So I think there's a part of that too. Like when somebody's like, "Oh, it wasn't scary." There's a different. First of all, it's subjective, right?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
second of all, it's there. Some horror isn't meant to be scary in that way.
Right.
Like Nightmare Before Christmas is a horror kind of movie.
Right.
mhm.
So anyway,
Okay.
that takes me back to like the long legs thing. I think a lot of people were
Yeah.
expecting a Terrifier kind of film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I liked it, but honestly, I didn't get that it's not my DNA to understand Nicolas Cage. So Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage took me out every time just because he was so Nicolas Cage in it.
Okay.
That that's my only complaint because otherwise I thought it was great. But every time he was on screen, I was just
I
checked
left.
out because it was just like it.
no.
I'm trying to think of the last movie I saw his where he just said, "You ripped my shirt," and so I said that to my fiance, and he died in the theater because that's what he said in one of the. I think I forgot what the last movie it was, but just Nicolas Cage is just so himself. I can't. It doesn't work for me. So.
Fun
Emmys?
fact: he's also a playable survivor character in Dead by Daylight now. Nicolas Cage.
Not surprised.
Can you kill him?
If you're the killer.
Okay, well then
So-
that gives me.
Emmy Smith wants to know if we would count Serial Mom as a horror. No,
Absolutely. Why?
it's a straight comedy.
Yes!
in my opinion.
Doesn't
Oh
she
my
kill people?
God,
With a leg of lamb, for crying out loud.
I love that movie so much, and my mom
I love it too.
never let me watch it.
I
For
haven't
obvious
seen it since I was a
reasons.
kid, but
I
love
love
the
the
shit.
film. And maybe it's because I don't know why, but I
maybe
don't
we can
consider
call it like
horror-
a horror spoof.
Yeah, you could. You absolutely could, and I'm not saying that it's not. It's just
Yeah.
I've only ever considered it a black comedy.
Okay. Yeah. Because there is a line with that.
Yeah,
It feels
I
like
don't- I
it feels
think
like
it-
Gig of the Damned to me because it would be almost the same thing where it's like
not
yeah,
at
there's
all.
death,
There-
but
there's not
kinda,
there's not the blood and gore factor like Gig of the Damned. This is more socio-political.
Mm.
yeah. I love it because my mom was so against me watching
yeah, it's
it, and the
fantastic.
minute I saw it, I was like, now I see why. Like
There was like a
it's
surge of
weird.
it all over TikTok not that long ago of
I
like
know.
people posting clips of it.
I got it for one of my Cinema Society Saturday movies.
Did you?
I did, and I fucking
I
love
still
that movie.
quote it. I still quote it like to this day. Like it's.
Do you
a
know
great
how many
movie.
people? So let me ask you, since you guys love this movie so much, who does she kill at the end of the movie?
Oh, I haven't seen it in years.
The
And what is her
ju-
claim? What is the woman's claim to fame?
the juror, the
Yeah.
one that because
Yeah.
she was wearing
She's
white
famous.
white shoes. Yeah,
After
she's
Labor Day?
Yeah.
yeah, she was after white shoes after Labor Day. She was in another John Waters, but she was
No.
in a bunch of other.
No,
She
no,
wasn't?
no.
She was in. I just remember.
She was not an
She has-
actress.
Really, I could have
Yes.
sworn she's in something else.
Her name is Patty Hearst.
Yeah, she was on like a Lifetime show.
No,
Could have sworn.
there was a
Patty Hearst.
Lifetime movie about her
Hmm.
because when she was a teenager, because she's part of the Hearst empire.
Dynasty.
So she left and became part of a terrorist organization.
Yeah, I
to
remember
have
hearing
been
about that.
brainwashed.
Mhm. We love a cult.
Scientology?
No, this was actually. Oh, apparently she was in Cecil B. Demented. I did not know that.
Yes, I was gonna say like
I was not aware. I've never seen Cecil be demented, but thank you for that, Emmy.
Interesting.
thank you for making me right. Yeah, that is, but yeah, that was one of the like I still don't really get why you can't wear white shoes after Labor Day, but yeah, that's iconic. Like that's 100%.
And now
Well,
you
my
can.
brain
Fashion-
always goes somewhere else because like what
Yes.
counts before and after Labor Day? How long is the period last?
Yeah, like that's
It can't. It messes my
January.
head up.
6 months
It's
before.
January. You
Is it?
started
Fashion
January.
has
Then Labor Day
fashion has
hits. No more white
changed.
shoes after that.
Just white shoes or white in general?
White shoes.
Okay.
Like, why would you wear white shoes anyway? Because my shoes always get disgusting. I live in
Yeah.
Florida.
Well, I
and-
also most of my wardrobe is just black.
right.
Fashion has changed.
It
No,
has.
it hasn't.
Well, I do want to thank both of you guys for hanging out with me today. So I've had so much fun.